All right, everybody. If you can gather your seats, take a seat, please, if you like. We're about to get started here. We appreciate everybody being here with us tonight. We have you hopefully for the next 3 hours or so. If you can hold your attention for a Friday night, we have a lot of things we'd like to share with you tonight. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the tour, where then we're going to hear from some of our local friends from the House of J who are doing some good work here. Those of you who are looking to plug in with other activist groups, this is the place, this is the time. And then we're going to hear a meditation and a talk from Miriam for those of you who understand the importance of mental and spiritual health right now with everything we're facing. Then we'll be hearing from John Bush, from Ramiro, and I'll be giving a talk. So we have about 3 hours of programming tonight. I hope you guys can stick around. Again, we've just spent the last 8 weeks, myself and Miriam, Ramiro for about 3 weeks of the stops, John for a few of the stops. And as you can see, the tour is called the Activation Tour. We decided that it was worth leaving our home for 2 months, being on the road, stressed out, spending money, time, energy, traveling the country to try to connect with people like you guys here. Now, of course, we're from Houston, from this area, so we're hoping we can really connect and plug in with more people here, because for the last 8 weeks as we've been traveling, we've been in events and there's 150, 100, 70, 80 people at every city, sometimes smaller, but mostly much bigger, and which is a good thing. And the beautiful thing I'll say about it, and you'll hear me emphasize this throughout the night, is that it's really been, I think, the most truly diverse, not in the sort of fake diversity, inclusivity way that we're taught, but in a truly diverse way. Every city we visited, we've had a wide range of ages. We've had folks as old as 94 years old to 5 months old. Every skin color you can think of, people who say, I'm a Democrat, but I don't fit in with these people, or I'm a former Trump supporter, or I'm a conservative, I'm an anarchist, I'm apolitical, I don't put labels on myself, everything in between. And it's been really beautiful to see, because so much of the propaganda over the last year and a half that we're going to talk about tonight, we're going to talk about the solutions. So much of that propaganda is designed to make the people in this room and the people watching at home to feel like they're a right-wing extremist, right? To try to put us all in this little box and dismiss us, because if you believe in these ideas, you must be obviously crazy or an extremist. But out in reality, away from the COVID paranoia, away from the propaganda, there are many, many people. And now in the last weeks, you guys are seeing it. Doctors, teachers, nurses, police, firefighters, all pushing back in different parts of the country, in different parts of the world, saying that they don't want to submit to mandates and vaccine passports and things of that sort. That's what we're here to talk about tonight. We're going to describe throughout the night some of the vision of what we're facing. I'll mainly focus on what we're facing, but we are going to put a heavy emphasis on what we can do about it, because solutions seem more needed than probably ever right now. And this is something else I'll emphasize throughout the night. I don't think knowing things are bad is good enough anymore, if it ever was good enough. You can know things are bad, you can talk about it, you can watch the shows and listen to the podcasts and still march right into this vision they have. Maybe you guys have heard of it. It's called the Great Reset. Maybe you've heard of the term, you'll own nothing and be happy. We'll talk more about that vision tonight, and we're going to offer an alternative to that. So that's what we're here for. We got about 3 hours of programming. I really hope you can stick around to the end, because I'll be performing some music. And yeah, we're excited to share with you guys. First, I'm going to invite up my buddies, Johnny and Jeffer. For those who know the House of J, know the work they're doing, some of this might be familiar. If it's not, whether you're in the city down here in this area or not, I encourage you to plug in and connect with these guys. Even if you're like, well, I'm not going to make a trip to downtown, to the east side of town. It's just too far away from me. See what kind of programs and ideas they're doing and how you can implement them in your community. Because the house that they live in, the House of J, used to be the Freethinker House. It's been a home for community for years now, and they continue to hold that space down for activism, for music, for arts, for community gardening, and so much more. And these are the kinds of spaces we need all over the city and really all around the surrounding areas. So please welcome Johnny and Jeffrey. You gonna join us too? Yes.
Jeff is coming. How's everybody doing tonight? Good? Yay! Yeah, shake it off, all the Friday stuff. I hope your weekends are getting started and nobody has to work too early tomorrow. But yeah, we are matching today. We didn't call each other before we left the same house that we both live at. But yeah, my name's Johnny. This is Jeffer. We're from the House of J. As Derek said, it's kind of a community space that's on the east end of downtown, right off of Harrisburg, kind of by the soccer stadium. And for the past 4 years, we've been throwing music and art events, as well as doing a community garden. And it's been just this crazy idea that's really evolved over the years. And it pertains to freedom because we're kind of creating our own little economy here. Like that, we want the House of J to be a platform for people to share their art, their music, or to have a marketplace, for example, or a gardening, plant swaps, and all these kinds of different events. We wanted to be able to provide a space like that with like minimal barriers to entry, so everyone is able to kind of come and share their ideas or do the events that they like. And we've attracted a lot of diverse backgrounds, just like Derek said. There's people from all different kinds of backgrounds right now that are waking up to these ideas, and the people that come to our house aren't always necessarily aware of those. But we're desperately trying to, not desperately, but we're hoping to integrate the more freedom mind, and that kind of liberty minded actions into the music scenes, and the younger people that come to our house for the concerts and stuff like that. So that's basically what we've been doing. I mean, how many people have actually been to our house that's like in the room right now? Awesome. Yeah, so about half of you guys haven't. So we like to get in the garden on Sundays, and if you can follow us on House of J, HTX, Instagram, and all of those government followed things. I think we have a library account as well. But yeah, I mean, that's just a little bit of background. We throw all kinds of events. You can always hit us up if you want to throw some kind of event like that. But I'm gonna let Jeffer talk about some of our goals and where we're headed.
Okay, so yeah, half of you guys have been to the house and you've seen our little garden and our little projects with propagating fruit trees and planting them in the neighborhood. We have sugar and papaya, fig trees, uh, and we just bought a cob oven. So no, sorry, not a cob oven, a pizza oven, and wood fire pizza oven. So we used the money from the shows that we've been hosting for the last couple of years, saved up our pennies, and now we have the pizza oven. And the goal with that is to bring back our soup events. And have anyone heard of soup? Super Houston? Anyone? Yeah. So we did this a couple years ago when it was the Freethinker House, and we had a good success with that. Basically, I'll give the outline of soup. Is you come and it's a $5 event, and you put in your ticket, you get your soup, and you see 3 or 4 different people who want to fund ideas, whether it's an entrepreneur who wants to fund like a little Etsy business, or someone fix a pothole in the neighborhood or whatever, and we come together, we raise like $500-600, and then we vote for the favorite project that we see, and whoever gets the most votes goes home with the money at the end of the night. So with our pizza oven, we're going to do like a pizza version of that. I'm going to change up the thing. So we have weekly shows. We have 2 shows a week sometimes, and we have like 100 to 200 people coming out, and we're going to do $2 slices of pizza, and a portion of that will go towards an idea that or a entrepreneurial project that you want to see happen. And if there's anyone here that has an idea, then please like speak to us after this talk. And yeah, that's the big one that we're bringing in the next, well, starting this week actually, because we have a big show tomorrow. So
Come to House of J tomorrow.
House of J tomorrow. Halloween show. It's a $10 show. We're trying to get to the point where we can do every show for free and have it all funded through our Patreon account. And if we can get like a big, and we've had a lot of people saying once we start it, it's going to be, they're going to donate. But we want to have like bigger and bigger touring bands coming through and just have crazy DIY punk house shows. We have a big garage that can fit like 100 people in. That's where it's going to be tomorrow. We have a house that's like we've almost broke the house. Yeah, as I say, we've been doing shows for 4 years, and our floor is like really sad. it's like a yeah. But yeah, we're raising money to fix the floor right now. But everything's in the garage now. If you come tomorrow, it's at 7 o'clock, I believe, until midnight. There's going to be 6 bands. They're like huge bands, local bands, like the biggest. We're connected with a big promoter right now, so it's going to be a huge event. We're going to do pizza. We're going to do we're gonna have vendors. It's gonna be a fun night. So Johnny, if you have anything to add.
Yeah, so basically, like how this all kind of ties together is the bottom line is we're here talking about freedom cells. We're here talking about like how we can prepare ourselves for the hypothetical whatever doomsday may or may not be coming our way, with food shortages and money, inflation, and like all those kinds of things. Like what truly protects us against that, right? The freedom cell method. But how do you get like-minded people together? Well, that's the kind of little piece of the puzzle we feel like we've solved, because it's really, you need food, music, and art. Because to have a community, you can't just have meetings. You can't just have like the serious business down to business to bring people together like that, and to bring, more importantly, new people to these ideas. Like someone's more interested in coming to maybe a concert or coming to maybe something like that, and you're able to discuss with them on a different grounds besides the internet, over like some of these ideas and things like that. So what the House of J is truly about, and our mission is truly to be like a community space in Houston where you can connect to like-minded people and you can have the opportunity to throw those events. Because the more involved you are in these little kind of like nodes, whether or not you agree with everyone that's around you, it's like when stuff happens, you have that community there. Like when our water line broke, like someone was able to come and fix it. Like we know plumbers, we know people that can fix windows. These are regular people. We have like, nurses that are, and that's how you bring people in. Music, food, and art, and just like doing good business, freedom, win-win deals. And that's really what the House of J is all about. We encourage all of you guys to please reach out to us if you have any ideas for events. If you want to do documentary screenings, if you want to do, we have a big projector. So any ideas you have, I know we've been all over the place. We kind of like didn't really plan a full talk, but yeah, shocker. But either way, I mean, we just want you guys to know that our community is here. It's available, and you can tap into it. So look up House of J HTX, and we really appreciate it. Oh, Jeffrey's got something.
Yeah, we have a lot of people, a lot of young punks, a lot of shoegazy people that come up to us during the shows, and they're like, this is incredible, this is such an awesome space. Like I felt so alone. I never knew that I had a community in my neighborhood. Like, and we want to do that with freedom-minded people. Like if you're just sitting on social media like looking at the world collapsing and everyone just losing their minds in those stupid left-right paradigm, like this is a space for y'all. Like come out for our garden days or our soup events and feel like you can talk to people and like find meaning in like a community that understands like freedom and yeah, exactly. So I hope we see a few new faces at our events. So thank you.
Were there any quick questions? Just open that up. Yes.
What time is the thing tomorrow night?
Tomorrow night. What time? I would say probably doors at 8. Doors at 8 o'clock.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. And you can find all of our address and all that stuff's online. So House of JHTX. Yeah. Thank you guys. I think Miriam's next. Romero. Hi, Romero. Everyone say hi, Romero. And introducing Miriam.
Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Give it up for House of J. They're doing amazing work. Okay. Thank you guys for being here. My name is Miriam. This is our last tour stop. This is our hometown. This means a lot to us. So thank you guys for showing up. And if you're here because you know what the event was about and you're looking for solutions, then I am very grateful for you, because that means that you're being proactive. So give yourselves a round of applause. So I'm talking about meditation. I kind of bring a little bit of the spiritual aspect of the whole tour, right? And Derek touches on it as well. So I try to bring awareness on the spiritual, the mental, the physical, and the emotional. And I think that that's really important, especially with the always right. But the times that we're facing right now with COVID really does feel different. Does this time feel different to you? I mean, nothing like this has happened before. A pandemic, a virus hitting all parts of the world. Now, whatever you want to believe, that's up to you. Whether you believe the virus is real or not, whether you believe people are getting sick or not. Honestly, I can only go by my own experience. That's honestly how I feel about everybody. We can only go by our own experience, what we're experiencing in reality, not really by what the mainstream is telling us, because we know that those are just narratives, right? Paid by big pharma, paid by these big corporations. Um, and from my experience, I saw a lot of people getting sick the past year and a half. I did see a lot of people getting sick, and I got sick myself. I saw parents get sick, aunts, uncles, neighbors, community members of all sorts. And, you know, winter season rolls around and people get sick all around. Children are getting sick, everybody's getting sick. Not everybody, but with the cold and the flu, right? So that happens very often. But to see people getting sick for 2 weeks, a whole month with fevers, cold, and body aches that are really intense. I felt those body aches with all these side effects. For me, it was honestly kind of like a wake up call. And personally, I kind of wanted to shade these people and say, why are you letting it get to this point? Why are you allowing anything get to this point for you? Why are you allowing your body to go through this? You know, and not to say that they called it upon them or anything, but I'm just saying, I mean, I grew up, I'm Mexican. So I grew up with my grandma, my aunts, my mom, everybody bringing in the herbal remedies, at home. So anybody got a cold, anybody hurt themselves, anything happened, and there's a remedy for it, or there's something to prevent any sickness or something like that, right? You just run to the herbs or whatever it is. And I learned over the years what my body needs to prevent the flu and the cold. Or I don't know if you noticed, but there's a difference between your everyday sneeze versus that sneeze that's telling you, hey, there's something here. Do you know what I'm talking about? So I really see this time as an opportunity for a whole lot of things. And one of those is an opportunity for all of us to become more aware of our physical body and its needs, and live in optimal health as much as possible, and take care of our bodies. So pretty much take radical responsibility. And I say radical, but really just take responsibility. Take more responsibility of our health, because I don't know if you've noticed too, the hospitals now, the clinics across the country, in different parts of the country, we're noticing that if you're not vaccinated, you don't get your blood work. We won't do your blood work. We won't do your transplant. We won't take care of you. Have you guys noticed that? Yeah. So it's going to get to that point, if it hasn't already here in Houston, God forbid, but those are the signs that we're seeing, right? So when it comes down to it, if we're dependent on those systems, the pharmaceuticals or anything like that, and you're somebody who's maybe saying, I don't believe in this vaccine, I don't want to get coerced in this vaccine. Well, think about those areas in your life that you are dependent, and if health is one of them, then it might get to the point where you're going to be coerced to get the vaccine, right? So I know it's not realistic for everybody, but as much as possible, if you can incorporate like more herbal remedies into your life, or bring in more organic, fresh variety of vegetables and fruits into your life, no matter what diet you're eating, or just more clean, fresh water, right? Live water, more deep, restful sleep, meditation, all those different tools that, I mean, I'm probably just, talking to a crowd that already gets this, and if you already get this, I want to invite you to teach your friends and family. Like if you say, oh, Miriam, I already incorporate the herbs. Like I don't get flu. I didn't get COVID. I didn't, like I got this. My body's got this. I know how to take care of myself. Then awesome. Good for you. Teach your friends and your family. teach your community, share those herbs, share those remedies like Natalie's doing over here, right? Because another thing that I'm seeing is that maybe some people at the beginning of COVID, they're like, oh, this is a sham. Nobody's getting sick, or, some people are getting sick, but, it's not that bad. It's not as bad as they're saying. Not as many people are dying. But then they experience it themselves, or a loved one experiences it, or somebody dies. And I get it. There's so many discrepancies in COVID. But, in their reality, somebody dies or somebody gets really sick and ends up in the hospital. And then they inside feel the fear of what the news is telling them COVID is. And I've seen a lot of friends and family go the opposite direction and believe everything that the narrative is telling them. And now they don't believe that they have a beautiful, incredible, intelligent, innate immune system that God has given them. They completely forget about that and they go and take a shot. So it is very important right now, the way I see it, to not only learn this for yourself, but teach your communities, because we are powerful in numbers, and the more people that are growing their own gardens and growing their own medicine, or going to those professionals that are holistic, that practice holistic medicine and take care of themselves, the less people we have running to the government, the less people we have running to those corporations for help. Does that make sense? The more people we can count on, the more people that are taking good care of themselves. And that's another aspect of this whole COVID thing, is that fear. A lot of people, the way I'm seeing it, is a lot of people have been traumatized. A lot of our brothers and sisters have been traumatized during this whole time. The mainstream media, I mean, these people are criminals. The corporations, the Bill Gates, the pharmaceutical companies, the Pfizers, all of it, they're criminals. And they're traumatizing people through the mainstream media, telling them what they should be afraid of, and that they should be distancing themselves from their relatives, from their community, and from their children, masking their children, right? And it's causing a lot of mental health issues. And I'm seeing it firsthand. I mean, we've been doing this tour, and one of the action days was a rally, Portland's first rally, just a march around the neighborhood or around some of the busy streets. And it was really beautiful, actually. 100 people coming together that they didn't even know that they were in the same community, right? And I got to see people coming up to us, kicking our posters down. We're not saying don't take the vaccine. We're just saying, hey, whether you're vaxxed or not vaxxed, whether you're masked or unmasked, if you believe in freedom of choice, then we're on the same team. That's all we're saying, right? But because of all the information that they've been taking and the trauma that's been going on, I'm seeing this lady kick down our signs and come up to us, yelling at us, raging at us, saying, you're terrible human beings. Nobody thinks like you. Nobody likes you. You're the minority, all those things, And people are just yelling at us and flipping us off and everything. Some people aren't even open to dialogue, And I honestly feel really bad. And I empathize with them because I know what they've been going through 24/7 with the news in front of their faces. That's terrifying. But at the same time, then there's the other, not the other side, but the other part of it is a lot of people, whether they believe in COVID or not, also have gone through some very lonely times. One of the most common things I'm hearing on this tour is, I thought I was alone. And you're not alone. I met people who spent the whole last year, almost 2 years, last year and a half, by themselves, quarantining, or just, being stuck at home by themselves, not being able to talk to friends or family or neighbors because they thought that they were crazy. That is traumatizing in and of itself. Hey, Sheree. And so I do see an opportunity right now for all of us to pay attention to our mental health. And so meditation touches on that. I am very passionate about meditation and sharing it with people because it is a very simple practice that touches on all these areas of our lives, right? And I'm going to take a look at my notes. So that radical responsibility of our health and our well-being and taking care of our families and friends as well. And then that mental health aspect too, right? I think these times are going to require, if you're not already feeling it, require a lot of our energy, a lot of our attention. If you're noticing what's happening, you might either feel like a deer in the headlights, and that's terrifying, or you might feel like a sense of urgency to take action, right? I don't know if you guys have noticed, there's a little voice in our side of our heads that's either telling us, yes, you can do it. Yes, you got this. Yes, you're capable. Or it's either telling us, no, you can't do that. What makes you think you're capable? What makes you think that you have the resources to do that? Who do you think is going to listen to you? And that, my friends, I feel like we need to learn how to heal that little voice inside of our heads, that trauma, that doubt, that insecurity, those fears inside of us that are holding us back. Because sometimes I wake up and I say, hey, I think I need to do this for my community. I think if I don't see anybody in my community doing it, like I think I need to be the one to step up and do it, right? And then what's the voice inside my head gonna say next? Don't do that. Don't waste your time. You're just not gonna complete that task. You're not capable. You're not strong enough. And then I don't do it. I've met so many people on this tour that go up on stage and they're like shaking and their nerves are just like getting the best of them, but they realize that they need to step up. This one lady, she started the rally in Portland. She's like, I've never done anything like this before. But if it's not me, if I'm not seeing anybody in my community do something about this and share this information and try to get people connected, if it's not me, then who? Who's going to do it? And if I keep waiting, when is that going to happen? And I see her and I'm just like, you're the embodiment of what we're going through right now. She's up there shaking with her voice and she's like laughing at herself because she's like, I never thought I would do anything like this. I can't believe I'm up here right now with the microphone. And I'm like, you go, girl. That's you and your courage right now. And that's what I really feel like it's necessary right now. We're calling this the activation tour, but me personally, I'm calling it the courage tour because I feel like it's going to take courage to move past our fears, to move past our insecurities, to move past our comfort zone, which our comfort zone is our biggest enemy. It's not the state, it's not the government, it's not the Bill Gates, it's not any of those. Our comfort zone is really our biggest enemy. And so I invite you to work on that for yourself. Find the tools necessary to work on that for yourself. And if you find somebody in your community, or if you are somebody in this community that has had experience working with trauma or has had experience with healing modalities, please share that with your friends and your family. Share that right now, let people know that you're there for them. Let people know that you're there for each other, support each other, because we really do need each other. So meditation. What I wrote here is meditation is a healing modality that makes you sit with yourself, observing yourself, facing yourself, and opening up opportunity to see your traumas and heal while centering yourself. So it's a very simple tool. It's a free tool, so anybody can do it. You can almost meditate anywhere except for driving. Please don't meditate while driving. And sometimes I get from people, oh, I can't meditate because my mind is always racing. And that's totally fine. We're all human. Our thoughts are going to keep going, right? I invite you with that to just be the observer of your thoughts, to simply observe. Observe your thoughts, observe the voice inside your head, and without any judgment, without any criticism. And from there, we build awareness, right? And when we're meditating, we're focusing on our breath. bringing our attention back into our bodies. And that really helps to calm our nervous system. And when we calm our nervous system, I mean, so many beautiful things happen in the physical body, right? But also the mind starts to follow, and we calm that voice inside our heads. And yes, there are some meditations out there that work on quieting your mind. And that's good. If that's for you, go for it. There are other meditations that are just simply there to relax you. Have you guys noticed? But a lot of us are constantly stressed out throughout the day. Just calming that a little bit helps us unwind and helps us center ourselves with everything that we're facing right now. Like that lady when we were at that march, at that rally, she could have come up to us and I could have immediately, from what I felt with her, I could have immediately gone and yelled at her and told her, well, the same to you too, right? And there was somebody in our crowd that did that for us. But at the end of the day, we're talking to him and say, hey man, take a deep breath. Take a nice deep breath, as difficult as it is right now. Everybody's watching. Everybody right here, right now is observing us. And if we lash out, if we respond the way that she's coming at us, if we perpetuate that, that's what people are going to remember about us. That's the only thing that they're going to remember about us. They want to see us extremists, unvaxxers, whatever they want to call us. They want to see us fail, you know? And in those situations, we can choose to take a moment to breathe, center ourselves, and then from that awareness, we observe and we can choose more consciously how we want to respond. And that's with everything in life. I'm not just talking about that lady, right, that came at us, but I'm talking about everything in life. So that practice, that meditation practice, then if you do it often, it trickles out into the practical everyday living. And I think that's more important than the moment that you're sitting in meditation. That's really how I feel. Meditation practice is one thing, and you might have like beautiful mystical experiences. That's great. That's cool. But really, what I find important is what happens off the mat. What happens when you're off the practice? How are you showing up as a human being, as a person in your community? That's what I think really matters, right? Especially when we need collaboration more than ever. And if you hear me talk about meditation and meditation is not for you, you feel like, nope, not open to it, that's cool, that's totally fine. I invite you to think of meditation as prayer. And if prayer is something that you connect with a little bit more, prayer does practically the same thing, you know? And besides helping us center, it also helps us connect with God, creator, the divine spirit, whatever that personal connection is for you. And so meditation and prayer, they do the similar thing. And I want to invite you, or I want to share with you science, a little bit of science behind meditation, which is funny to me because meditation has been practiced and prayer has been practiced for thousands and thousands of years, and science is now catching up. Okay. And so one of those things is, okay, at the same time that you're meditating, you are healing your physical body. You're gaining mental clarity, more focus, more energy. You're becoming more aware, right? You're making more conscious choices, and you're opening up more to learning, and your quality of sleep gets better, which is so cool. You're building a more positive self-image, and it increases brain energy, intuition, increases positive gene expression through epigenetics, which is amazing, and it regulates hormones. And we know that hormones affect a lot of our physical body. So, would you like to meditate with me? Yeah, awesome. So I'm going to grab a chair here, and we have our friend Eric joining us as well. Eric, do you want to share a little bit about?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Eric, and I'm just gonna be playing this rav bass drum over here during the meditation. And yeah.
Okay, so go ahead and get comfortable. Get your backs, your posture nice and straight. And if you don't want to join us in meditation, that's totally fine. If you rather pray, go ahead and pray. Or just sit silently with us. Okay. So with meditation, we want to make sure that our posture is nice and straight. So our backs are straight. We're not forcing them. We're not curving our backs, right? We're just firmly sitting up straight. And if you'd like the support, go ahead and lean back. I personally choose not to use the support because if I get nice and relaxed, I might fall asleep. And that's fine and dandy too, right? But right now we're focusing on meditation. So I like to come off of the back. Your feet, if you can reach the ground, plant them firmly onto the ground. Maybe you unwind your legs if they're one on top of each other. Your hands, they can go comfortably on your lap, on your knees, face up, face down. Check in with your shoulders. Make sure your shoulders are back, letting gravity do its job, letting them fall back. Your chest is nice and open. And then go ahead and close your eyes if you'd like. And if you'd like to keep them open, focus on a point 2-3 feet in front of you. Something that's not moving, something that's not distracting. And take a nice deep breath with me in through the nose. Hold that breath in. Maybe feel a moment of gratitude for your breath. And exhale. A few more deep breaths in just like that. And then allow your breath to take on its natural rhythm. So most of the time we're going about life and we don't pay attention to our breath. And it keeps flowing. It keeps us alive. So right now we're just following that rhythm. Using our mind's eye, maybe we see the oxygen flowing in through our nose, filling up our lungs, our bellies. Maybe we feel the sensations in our bodies, our chest expanding, our bellies expanding, the cool air running through our nose, the warm air as we release. We're bringing our awareness to our breath, to our bodies. And sometimes when we choose to meditate, it's not necessarily always in the most quiet space, and that's totally fine. There's a little practice you can do to bring your awareness, your focus deeper into your body. And so if you bring your awareness to your ears, simply feeling where our ears are at and taking in all of the sounds outside, the music, everything. We're simply observing the sounds. There's no need to label them. Or criticize ourselves for taking a moment to listen. And when you're ready, you bring your awareness back to your breath. So take a nice deep breath in through your nose. Feel it in your body, and then exhale. And continue at the rhythm, at the pace that your breath wants to go. And with each breath, see if you can feel your body relax into your chair a little deeper. And if at any moment you're in your thoughts and you become aware of it, that right there is something to be grateful for. We don't criticize ourselves for it, for even thinking. If it is an important thought, it'll come back. We simply bring our awareness back to our breath, back to our body. Really feel your body relax, holding your posture firmly, yet let everything drop. If you still feel any tension in your face, in the space between your eyebrows and your cheekbones or your jaw, you can take a deep breath, and on the exhale, soften your gaze, relax your forehead, relax your cheekbones, relax your jaw. You could even stretch your jaw and then find a comfortable position for it. We want to bring our focus fully into our bodies, and sometimes we feel tension in our necks or in our shoulder. And if that's you, you can take a moment to stretch your neck gently, moving with your breath. So you can tilt your head to one side if you'd like, and rock it back and forth, or maybe do some circles. Do what feels good to you. Nothing too harsh, nothing that hurts. Simply soft movement that helps us relax. And if you feel tension in your shoulders or your upper back, you can breathe in and shrug your shoulders up to your ears, or maybe do some circles with your shoulders. And then whenever you're ready, you can exhale, let them drop back. Your chest is open again. Our back is straight. Relax your glute muscles. Relax your leg muscles. Your feet. And back to our breath. This is one of those tools that you can go to help you center yourself, to find more peace or create more peace in your life, in your mind, in your heart. If you're spiritual, this is one of those tools that can help you connect with God, Creator, Spirit. And remind you that you are always connected, are always divinely guided, loved, and supported. And feel all of that in your meditation. I hope that you find the tools that work for you. And if you know your goals loud and clear, may they help you reach them. And ultimately, as a community, as a global family, help us reach more freedom internally and externally. Reminding us that we are always capable, always provided for, that we have everything inside of us that we need to move forward. So thank you guys so much. Whenever you're ready, you can wiggle your toes, your fingers, move your body around. Take a deep breath, shake it about. Thank you guys. If you have any questions about meditation, come talk to me and I would be happy to help out if you're interested in finding a practice that works for you. Yeah, thank you guys.
Hey guys, thank you for practicing with Miriam there, and especially for those of you who might not be familiar or maybe even not comfortable with trying out meditation, appreciate you trying something new, or at least enjoying and observing the quiet space. It's good for your mind. And as we get into some of the deeper issues, the reason we start with meditation is to really kind of center things and focus things as we go deeper throughout the rest of this evening. We're about to hear from our buddy Ramiro, who's going to talk to you guys about the technology side of things. We're going to hear from John Bush in just a little bit about manifesting the world that you want by living in line with your principles and some more ideas. And then I am going to talk more about what we're facing. So we will be talking about some of the quote unquote dark things, the difficult things that we're dealing in our world right now. And we want to make sure we get some time to center and focus before we take on that deep dive. So part of what we're facing, people becoming familiar in this room with the term technocracy, perhaps learning more and more about the role that big tech plays in our lives, whether we like it or not. Censorship, things that we've seen rising up. These are all problems that definitely activists and journalists and any of us who've been paying even just the slightest attention have become familiar with in the last couple of years. And it can feel like an overwhelming topic, like there's no solutions. Bill Gates has his hand in Microsoft. Microsoft is in every computer you want to buy at the store. Google's in every phone you try to buy. Apple's in every phone you try to buy. How do we get away from these things, right? Ramiro is here to talk about that. He's been doing a lot of great work on the technology side of things and just in so many other spheres. But he started working with us in the last 2 years here on the Freedom Cell Network, helping us with the website of things, as well as helping us with the production of the Greater Reset, which hopefully more of you are familiar with now at this point. And he's doing a lot of great work now with Take Back Our Tech and the Above Phone. We're going to hear about so much more. Please welcome Ramiro Romani. Oh, wait, one more thing. I need to mention this. Come here. This guy saved my life on tour, like no lie. Literally, I had a near-death experience. I was choking on a piece of vegan meat. And Miriam's like, guys, Derek's starting to choke. And I was like literally turning red face. It was like, oh. And this dude just runs across the room, starts giving me the Heimlich maneuver and saved my life. So thank you, brother.
I wasn't going to let vegan food kill this guy. He's going to have to die fighting the state, just as it's envisioned. All right. Hey, everyone. What's up? I'm so glad to be here in my hometown. Got some friends and family there. It's just really beautiful to be here in person with y'all, people of like mind. So shout out to y'all. So I'm Ramiro Romani. As Derek mentioned, 2 years ago, I actually met him in this room for the first time. And he was like, man, we need some help with the Freedom Soul site. I was telling him about who I am. And that was it. That was kind of the start to this. That's the start to this creative system. Before that, I was working in New York City for 2 years as a software engineer. That was the peak of my career. I was comfortable. I was making a lot of money. And then COVID happened. And I was like, oh, man, I guess party time is over. I remember going to Trader Joe's and seeing everything was wiped off out of the shelves. And I stopped to see what food I could get. There was like a few cans of beans. And I was like looking at the beans. And I could feel the animalistic kind of fear in the people there. And I knew that that was not a world that I wanted to live in. So I saw that I was a part of a destructive system. I'll talk a little bit more about what that is. And I decided to leave. So that kind of marked my transition of moving and becoming a part of creative systems. So what am I even talking about? What is a creative system? Well, a creative system brings in its individual components. That might be people, that might be elements. For instance, if you're growing something, it could be the soil, the plants, and it makes it so everything together is greater than the sum of its parts. It's actually greater. So right now we live in a destructive system. What does that mean? That means that it takes from the individual parts and makes them worse, right? So we live in a society that is ran by destructive systems. I'll give you a bunch of examples. Well, our tax dollars are going to fund the majority of our government's budget. Is going to defense spending, right? So they're going to tanks and bombs and guns. There's money coming out of our pockets that is hurting people overseas. And then the surplus from the defense spending is coming back into our own police departments, and it's being used to rule us. You see how that kind of works destructively, only to line the pockets of the people, the military-industrial complex? Our food system is also a destructive system. Farms across the United States, they use monoculture, which depletes the soil of vital nutrients, even if they shift crops, and it leads to our food becoming denutritioned. So It's subsidized by the government. We're all going to the store to buy this stuff, but it's not actually giving us proper nutrition, and it's killing the soil. Again, destructive system. Our education system, I mean, I went to college. I don't think I learned very much until the very last semester. So it's taking young people in, and this is arguable too, but it's not teaching them the real important things, and it's leaving them with a whole bunch of debt that they have to pay back. Another destructive system. So I became tired of this, and I decided to find out what I could get involved in. And Freedom Cells is one of the most amazing creative systems I've ever had the pleasure of being part of. And now you're a part of this system too. And now we're going to see these destructive systems totally fall. They're going to break and disintegrate in front of our eyes. And now it's up to us to create these new creative systems. So that's what my talk is going to be about today. It's about giving you the tools and technologies you need to create these new creative systems for ourselves. There's a few things we have to know, though, as we move into this new age. One, creation is really hard. We've kind of been domesticated, We live in nice houses, we drive nice cars, we have AC, we go to the store to get our food. Real creation is hard. When you're the one producing that food, you don't know how, you have to till the soil, you have to harvest it, you have to process it. So I think we're going to learn that. We're going to learn how hard creation really is. Another thing is collaboration is needed. You absolutely cannot do it alone, whether it's your family or your friends or your community that you need to take a part of, to trade with them, to work on your farm together, to raise animals together. You absolutely are going to understand the importance of community. So this is going to go from the transition of this nuclear family where it's like, oh, this is my yard and this is my home, this is mine, mine, mine. And it goes towards more of a tribalistic or community-based society where we're going to relearn how to share things with others, right? Whether we're pooling our resources together for a mutual aid group or simply to invest on a property or to give each other labor when we need it. Lastly, it's uncharted territory. So that's scary, right? There's not any answers for this stuff. We do have answers for the established destructive system way of life where, we go to school, we get a job, we work for 20, 30 years and then retire, right? That thing we have answers for, but we really don't have any answers for these new creative systems. So the answers aren't out there. We have to go out and figure it out ourselves. And that's kind of scary. But despite all of this, working on creative systems is the most fulfilling thing you could ever do because I feel it brings out your purpose in life. Each piece of the puzzle we all hold, the things that we really wanted to do, that opportunity is before us once more. Because again, we're rebuilding every aspect of society and we're finding how we fit into this new place. That is at least, a lot of us are getting fired now. I have some friends that are getting fired simply because of their non-compliance to these experimental medical treatments. So we're going to have this time on our hands where we can spend on creative systems. And so that's kind of beautiful in the way. When they told us when we were younger, you can be anything you want. They weren't lying, but you can't do it inside these destructive, narrow systems. You have to do it your own way. You have to do it in a creative system. Okay, I think I harped on that long enough. Okay, so how this really works. So what it really takes is to build knowledge, to accumulate knowledge and experience. And that period is now that we absolutely have to do it. We have to fill in the gaps in our skills. And then we go about sharing what we have. We go about serving other people and seeing how we could be of service, feeding other people, building for other people. The list is really endless. And it's through this knowledge and experience and then exchanging it that we build our new communities. And when this happens in a private and secure manner, which I'll talk about in a second, you have abundance. You have a way to live outside of the system. You have a parallel society or perpendicular society. Okay, so let's talk about knowledge. You don't need a degree to save the world. I say this to different young people and my friends and family. You don't need a degree to save the world. Why? Because the knowledge is all out there on the internet. So I have 200 gigabytes of books on everything from archery to raising Jersey cows to building your own house, right? This information is all out there. And here I'm going to lay out a few URLs. So if you guys are ready to take some notes, That would be a good time. So I got these books from survivallibrary.com, and I built a web scraper to go through and download them all. But there's a lot of really good stuff in there if you are more interested in a specific topic. Like there's tens and tens of thousands of books. So that's a really amazing resource. Another really awesome resource is called PDF Drive. And if you ever had a topic you were interested about, maybe it's permaculture, maybe it's about deeper states of meditation or how to be a hacker, you can find it there, pdfdrive.com. Lastly is libgenis, or Library Genesis, libgen, libgen.is. So this is a place where they have democratized research that is actually usually behind paywalls, right? That is only published in on academic journals for a steep fee. So what's actually happened is Harvard has gone back and been like, hey, we're contributing to these journals, but the yearly costs of getting this information is far too high, right? So it's kind of locked knowledge off to the lower tiers of society who can't afford it. So libgenis, what they do is they go in, pass these paywalls, either pay for it, and then they download the papers and make them available for everyone to use. A really amazing resource, right? So we can start taking back every aspect of knowledge that we don't know, that is kind of hidden from us, that is proprietary. And we need to relearn these things, and we need to relearn them now if we ever want to have a vision, have a kind of a mirror of society that we're used to. It's just a difference between surviving and thriving. So that period is now where we're going to accumulate knowledge and grow into the people we need to be. There's one more thing. There's a search engine, or it's a privacy respecting meta search engine, right? So instead of searching Google and Google knowing your identity and what you're searching, you can use this tool. It's called SearchX. That's spelled SEARX, SearchX. And anyone can run the software. You could run the software, but it essentially searches Google and other search engines on your behalf. And it doesn't just search Google, it's better than Google. It can search over 100 different sources, right? Different Wikipedias, music. You can even search Library Genesis that I just mentioned. So these are all ways to accumulate your knowledge and experience. I also recently started a Telegram channel after realizing I spent way too much time in front of a computer and not enough time out there in the fields doing work. So I started this channel called FCXP on Telegram, and we get together and we talk about really awesome courses or in-person events and meetups, workshops, all that kind of stuff. And there's been some really awesome stuff already posted there. So definitely dig into that. And now you've got all this knowledge, you have more knowledge than you know what to do with. What do you do with it, right? Well, we need to get it in a format that we're going to be able to keep with us, even despite anything, right? Despite the internet going down, or despite a mass coronal ejection, which one is happening right now, literally as we speak right now. And it's only an X1 class, right? The Carrington event back in the 1800s, that was a class 15. It set telegraph wires on fire, and it would have knocked down our entire communications grid. So we're kind of expecting something like this to happen soon in the future. Nobody really knows exactly when, and we've just been getting lucky. But the point is to keep this knowledge on hand. Should we need to rebuild, we don't have to depend on anyone else, right? We don't need to depend on, hey, here are your rations, please go do your job and you get your rations. You actually have the tools and knowledge you need to fend for yourself. So that's what this accumulation of knowledge is for. So of course, if you want to deal with a mass coronal ejection, you're going to want to put it in an EMF-proof bag, maybe a USB of all the information you have, put it in a USB or a EMF-proof bag, along with a laptop, and then some sort of power source. Maybe that's a solar panel. You might have to get creative. Luckily, an EMF-proof bag is just a Faraday cage, right? Which is just a sheet of metal surrounding the object, so the current passes through the metal and not through the electronics, frying it in the process. Okay, so that's all. That's all you need to learn, right? It is a lot to take in at first, but just take it one step at a time. Figure out what you're interested in and share it with others. take this knowledge, read through it, practice it. Some of it is going to be easier to practice than others, but now I think we have all been made aware of the food crisis coming our way. That's a huge problem that we all need to sit down, put our heads together, and solve. So start practicing it. The other big issue with these creative systems is privacy. Now, privacy is something that separates the rich from the poor in today's times. Corporations and governments, they practice privacy. Normal people do not. We are on their systems, and through that, there's an incredible amount that they can know about us. I'll kind of dive into this more too. But here's just an example of how governments and corporations know the value of privacy and use it. We've all seen how military and government works on the need to know basis. And so there's grades of information you are privy to when you're in the government, right? Even the president is just at a top secret level. They don't get to know any higher than that. So information is hidden. Why? Because you can't act on something you do not know. That when you keep information hidden from people, people can't even get outraged about it. So that's the issue here. When corporations like Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Google were named in the Prism leaks, what was the response for these companies? They basically said, I didn't even know we were involved in this, and we can't comment. They didn't even know. When your privacy is so good that you even fool people in your own company. So that's kind of the point here. So these organizations I'm talking about, they're not doing the best things on earth, but maybe you are wanting to do good work and you don't want anyone to get in the way of your work. That's where privacy comes in. That's when you have your people and the people who are on the same page, you communicate with them and you tell little to anyone else, right? That's what privacy is. Why is privacy important? Privacy is the solution to surveillance. Surveillance is the other aspect of control. It starts out as surveillance and it turns into control. Right now, we are all being surveilled in many different ways. This gets worse over time, right? If you read the CIA handbook for performing intelligence operations, 2/3 of their operation is just gathering intelligence, gathering more information. The last third is actually acting on that information. Here's another example that's more recent. So the Biden administration, they have a spending proposal or they have a spending bill. And within that spending bill is a clause that would require banks and credit unions to report transactions that are $600 or more. Why? Well, because this is a control aspect of it, is because it would generate around $460 billion in auditing people and getting that tax revenue, right? You see how the more information they get about you, they can act on it. And whether you agree with taxation or not, it's just an aspect of how that works. Right now, we're also going through COVID medical surveillance. They were very, very big on pushing tests. That way they could get a list of people who had taken the test, tested positive or negative. Who knows what the PCR tests were actually testing for or if they were accurate. But now that they have that list, they can begin to work off it and go to the people who were positive and ask them if they need to be vaccinated, right? They're kind of all registered within that system. So the aspect of privacy is something we have been taking on with Take Back Our Tech, which is our educational effort. I started that this year. We have a website, if you're all interested. It's takebackourtech.org. And we write about different aspects of privacy within our computers, within our phones. Our very first mission was to get people to install an independent operating system on their computer. One you simply could not go to a store and put on there. That's, of course, Linux, right? So what we found through our research and investigation was that both Windows and Mac OS, you don't own your computer owns you. Why? Because it can be remotely wiped at any time. And also, it is sending back everything you do to Microsoft or Apple. If you try and disconnect a Windows computer from the internet, it will try over connecting back 5,000 times in the span of an hour to Microsoft servers. If you block the Microsoft servers off your network, it will find different servers to try and connect to. Mac OS will send a unique identifier of every application you run, along with a unique identifier for your computer. And then we'll send it plain text over the network so anyone looking at your network traffic can see what app you're using and when. These operating systems are proprietary, which means you don't know what code is actually running, right? You can kind of just only go off of your own observations. I see the computer is doing this, but you can't actually tell what it's doing the majority of the time. So Linux is the counterpart to that, where the entire operating system is open source and it can be audited. And the way it works is a meritocracy. People go to a distribution of Linux because there's many different versions because it can be copied and replicated, and they choose the one that works best for them. So if one had these huge privacy flaws that I'm talking about with Windows or Mac OS, people would just shift to a different distribution. And luckily, it's never been easier to switch to Linux. We've seen dozens of people in the past month switch to Linux. Old people, young people, people new to technology, people who have been trying it for the first times, and they're finding the experience very functional, very easy to use, better than Windows in a lot of cases. You can put Linux on an old machine and you'll find that it works better than its Windows counterpart. There's a lot of different reasons for that, but it's never been a better time to switch to Linux. It only takes 2 hours to wipe your computer, put Linux on it, and then start learning how to use that operating system. So if you're interested in this, we have an article called, what's it called? Installing Linux from Scratch on takebackertech.org. So just check that out, follow those instructions, and you'll be good to go. There's also, I record a video for every article on Linux. So you'll get set up on your operating system, you'll learn how to install programs, you'll learn the very best programs to actually get that maximize your privacy, and then you'll be good to go. The second thing I would recommend for people in today's day and age is getting a VPN, which is a virtual private network. And the issue is currently is that because of DNS lookups, because of the way your computer connects to other websites, anyone who runs your internet service provider can see what websites you're visiting, and they see that very, very plainly and clearly. So what a VPN does is it encrypts your requests to other websites. That way it only looks like you're communicating with the VPN server, and that traffic is encrypted from your computer or your phone to the VPN server and back. So they can actually see what you're doing. So our company this year, we released our own VPN service, which comes apart on our phone. And if you want to learn more about this, go to abovephone.com. We also sell the VPN service standalone without the phone. So that's a good option for people. You could also use a Swedish provider called Mullvad, mullvad.net. So those are two organizations that I trust. Of course, one's my own. And if you want the URL for that again, it's above phone, like above on top of abovephone.com. So now that you have your networks covered, now we have to talk about the elephant in the room, your phone. There are several layers of tracking that is happening on the phone. There's one from the operating system, right? That's Google and Apple, the tracking inherent to the operating system. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on there. I've written about it at Take Back Our Tech. Mainly, it'll do crazy stuff like connect every 5 minutes back to Google and Apple servers. It will send the geolocation of not only your phone, but other devices on your home network. That's what iOS does. And it'll also collect information about your phone number and send that with regularity. The device itself. So this is inescapable. Much like I was talking about Windows and Mac OS earlier, there's nothing you can do to your phone to prevent this. You can only replace your operating system with a new one. And so there are alternatives that people don't know about. So my company this year, we decided to put together one of these privacy phone solutions, but you can also build it yourself. All you need is the device and knowledge of the alternative operating systems. So I'll name those right now. One is Calyx, C-A-L-Y-X, Calyx OS, and the other is Graphene OS, like the carbon-based nanomaterial, graphene, not like the stuff in our stuff in the vaccines. Okay, so yeah, those are two things to look into. And of course, if you want to just get it working out of the box without having to do any research, check out abovephone.com. So what these operating systems do is they strip out any requests to Google from the regular day-to-day use of the phone. So there's no connections being made back. And it also encourages you to use free and open source apps, which don't have any embedded trackers in them. One of the main issues today is that application developers, they are coerced or they feel the need to install advertising and analytics platforms on their applications. This means that everything you do within an app goes to the advertising or analytics tracking company. And so there was a study performed on who actually owns these analytics and advertising companies. And would you know it, that 16 out of the top 20 companies were owned by Alphabet, which is Google's parent company. So not only the operating system data goes to them, but also the data from your apps. You can begin to see how this mountain of data just ends up in one place and they have an immense knowledge about you, right? We're not even talking about just the search engine or the different Google suites, how they have this ability to really profile who you are as a person. And add to that, they're the biggest military tech contractor. So the situation is not good from Google's side of things. So I would just say that we need to be very conscious about trying to boycott and stay away from these big servers and be aware of what information we're putting out there into this digital system, right? This could even be stuff like just going out and using your credit card. Know that a profile is being built. So now let's get to the cool part, which is how in this new society, now that we have built accumulated knowledge and we are operating in a more private and secure manner, how do we actually build these systems? How do we exchange with each other? So we have a tool doing that. We need to remove reliance on a centralized platform as much as possible. All right, so Telegram is one of these centralized platforms, but unfortunately, it has kind of been the go-to, right? It's the #1 most used app in the world, and that's where a lot of our communities are today. So I actually say you should use Telegram. Just be aware, nothing you do on it is private. So use it as a place to build community, start bringing people in, maybe screening them, but actually move to better solutions. And so we've looked at a few different solutions. One is called XMPP, which is this 20-year-old technology that has been used by governments and military. It's been used by huge companies like Google and Facebook, and they've built their chat applications on top of them while leaving out that it's actually built on top of XMPP. Why? Because there's no money in that, right? So we're going to be one of the first people bringing this technology back to the United States. Right now, only Europeans use it, and we want more Americans to use it. Why? Well, because it's completely decentralized. Anyone can run it themselves. It provides end-to-end encryptions, meaning that even if the server was taken, they wouldn't be able to decipher what two people were talking about. It's completely anonymous. You can sign up with whatever information you want. Your only identifier is something that looks like an email, but you get to pick what that is. And you get to have multiple devices. You can use it on a phone or computer. You can have video and voice calls. Earlier this year in Punjab, Pakistan, anyone who was unvaccinated lost access to their cell service. What's going to happen? Well, what they found was that was really effective. There was a video of everyone lining up to get their vaccines after that. We might live in a future one day where that might be taken away from us. So what do we do then? Well, we have to rely on technologies like XMPP to do video and voice calls. We won't have SIM cards in our phones. We'll be in places like these connected to Wi-Fi. It's kind of funny. It's going to be more like going and using a landline, right? It's funny how things cycle back and forth like that. So XMPP is amazing. We're going to be releasing an article exactly on how to use it. It's completely free to get signed up. Above Agency, our company, we run our own XMPP service for people to use. And there's other organizations out there that have public instances for you to use. There's other social avenues, right? There's freedomcells.org. If you aren't a part of freedomcells.org, please join now. There is a portion of the site called Telegram Cells that will help you get connected with your local community. And obviously you're here right now, so there's no better time than the present. But if you're moving or if you have friends and family in other states or cities, let them know about the website so they can also find their own people. There's some amazing stories. Our 3 friends in Pennsylvania found each other through Freedom Cells, used to drive hours to see each other, and now just recently they have moved off grid on a farm with multiple buildings. So they kind of put their money together and they're renting that now, right? They completely changed their lifestyle from connections that were made over the internet. This is what we have to do. There's also low-tech solutions in finding people, right? What if we don't connect online? Well, I feel like our chances of finding people online, especially on Facebook and Twitter, are being dwindled because they don't want the truth to get out. So they're tightening down on this. And so we're going to have to move to low-tech solutions, such as printing stickers. Has anyone heard of the White Rose in here? A few people, right on. They're this amazing decentralized activist organization in the UK that brought a lot of this COVID hysteria to mass consciousness. And they did that by through the use of symbols and phrases and mottos that really made people see through what was going on. And they did this through a series of printers that they recommend. The Brother Q series, right? So there's a Brother Q500, Q600. These are thermal printers that you can put a label on, or you can print designs on and put anywhere. So the White Rose used this for a good cause, but you don't have to use this for a good cause. You can use it for yourself, right? For your own business. Let's say you have you're trying to start a local food co-op, or you're trying to put together funds to buy a lot of compost for a bunch of lawns. You can put the sticker up and have a link back to your XMPP address, to your Telegram channel. This is how we make connections in the new world. There's also another platform, or there's another printer called PeriPrint. I will throw that in there, right? So there's the Brother Q series, and then there's PeriPrint. So both of these are thermal printers which you can use. And lastly, there's a future of communications. Recently I had an interview with this company called BChat, which are some really smart kids from the UK, and they're working on an open and decentralized radio communications protocol. This is a phone radio that plugs into your phone, and you can use it to communicate anywhere from 2 to 60 miles off of the radio on the phone. So people are going to plug into their phone. They're going to create their own radio towers by setting one of these transmitters up, and they're actually going to communicate through post-quantum encryption, which will protect you against quantum computers, which are currently being developed. So I'm excited to say we're going to be one of the first people testing these radios in the United States, and maybe this is something we're going to have available for purchase by next year. BChat Network. They're going to be speaking at the Greater Reset, and so is the White Rose. So shout out to that. That's January next year. Do not miss it. Tell your friends. Where? Oh, in Morelia, Mexico, and also in Austin, Texas. If you can't make it down to Mexico, it's also on thegreaterreset.org is where you can find more information about that. Okay, I'm about to wrap up here, but I think we covered a lot of really good knowledge, right? These are the tools we absolutely need to navigate to if we're going to create these creative systems. This is how we're going to stay in touch with each other. This is how we're going to change the world. And together, on the digital level and on the physical level, I know we can change things. Thank you so much.
Please do check out the work Ramiro is doing. It is so important, especially if that went over your head. It means it's probably even more important. So he's the kind of people you need to work with if that did go over your head. Because our tech communications are important. We're going to hear from John in just a moment, and then I'm going to be sharing. And a lot of the message that we've been emphasizing on the tour, like I said, this is the 29th city we've visited in the last 2 months, and been speaking to people in cities that are considered liberal and cities considered conservative and everything else in between. And there are people just as concerned about what's happening. I don't know if you guys saw the latest news. Just want to kind of bring it into focus, right? John's going to come here and hit you with solutions. But just to kind of temper that with the realities around us, just today, the FDA giving full emergency use approval for the COVID vaccine for ages 5 to 11. So they're now, approving it for use on kids. Not going to be far behind. They start mandating it. And as Ramiro was saying, We've been traveling the US, and we were just in Philly, for example, 2 or 3 days ago. There was a room of 100 people, and we asked, is anybody here the next couple weeks or months at risk of losing their jobs for choosing not to vaccinate? And more than half the room raised their hand. And everywhere we've been traveling, that's the story we're hearing from people. Doctors, teachers, all kinds of people who are now being either pressured to comply or they're losing their jobs. And so the whole reason we're having this tour is to try to say, let's be proactive. Let's not just watch what's happening, walk right into the Great Reset, that you will own nothing and be happy, the world they have envisioned for us. Let's think about what our vision looks like, and let's create that. Let's put our energy into that, because I really do believe the coming generations, I have my family here, my sister, my mother, have some of my nephews here, and I have 6 nieces and nephews. And for me personally, those are the people I'm fighting for. I know some of you have kids as well, right? But it's also my nephew's kids that he may have in the future, right? It's the coming generations, those that we're never even going to meet, that will never be here to thank us for the work we put into this. But 100%, guys, without, there's just no other way to say it, and except for as plain as you can think about it, the future generations are 100% depending on us. The world that they are being born into and the reality they get to choose from, you'll own nothing and be happy. Is that going to be the only option for them? If we do nothing, yes. But the idea is, how can we make sure that, knowing their vision's coming, how can we try to slow it down or avert it? But how do we create something as an alternative? So the future generations that are coming, do you want to live in the technocracy? You'll own nothing, be happy. It'll be private. It'll be no privacy, no individual liberty, but it'll be environmentally friendly and convenient and all these things they promise. Or do you want to come with us and build something else? That's what we're focused on.
So with the alternative situation, you still, let's say you 100% own a great ranch.
I'm gonna hold you for questions just because we're so pressed for time. We can get to the questions just a bit because we got John and myself, and I know some of you have been waiting for us to start. I don't want to keep anybody too late, but we definitely will make time for questions. I appreciate that and the interest. But I'm going to just roll it into John, because I know John can temper what I'm saying, trying to bring some reality to the situation. We started with meditation. We're talking with technology with Ramiro, and that's all a part of this struggle, this fight that we're facing, right? It's important to recognize what's happening in the reality, because one other thing I'll say before we go to John is we did Dallas and Austin and now Houston. We were just in Orlando, Florida. We were in Arizona. We were in Iowa. We were in these states where a lot of people feel pretty comfortable. Oh, our governor's looking out for us. He did this executive order. We don't have to fight anymore. Everything's good. And I'm seeing a lot of complacency. I'm seeing a lot of people who think the fight's over, who think like, okay, we can just sit back and not do anything anymore. But just in case you haven't got the full picture yet, this isn't going to go away. This, and one other sort of reality check, hopefully everybody here has come to terms to recognize this is bigger than COVID-19. This is an agenda that predates COVID. And we'll get more into that in a bit. But please, I want you to welcome John Bush. He's been a great friend and an inspiration to me over the last 12 years, somebody who really helped me see the importance of creating alternatives. We can march and protest against the Federal Reserve, but if we keep using their systems, we're only working against ourselves. So to me, I've tried to dedicate my time to creating alternatives, and it's very much because of the work John has done. So please welcome John Bush. And he's here from Central Texas with us tonight.
Thanks. Well, I'm from Austin, but Austin went really kind of authoritarian. So I don't know if that, I live in Bastrop now, but I always try to introduce myself as being from Central Texas, not from Austin. All right, I'm going to do a little timer here so I don't speak until tomorrow. How is everybody tonight? Give it up for peace and freedom. Yeah. All right, I'm going to invite you all to stand with me, please, just real briefly. It's not required. There's no coercion involved. And do some hops with me. Come on. Let's get pumped up for life, for love, for liberty. Woo! All right. Okay. Thanks. You may sit. Are we in Catholic church? What's going on here? Thanks. I like to jump up like that before I do my talks. All right. So my name's John Bush. I am an activist, an entrepreneur, father of 2. I have big dreams for us and for the future of humanity. And I want to invite you along on a journey with me. Many of you already are. Many of you are part of the Freedom Cell Network. Where are my Freedom Cell folks in the room? All right. Has anybody not heard of the Freedom Cell Network? Okay. Well, it's a group of over 26,000 like-minded people. Many of them are in the room. And it's basically just folks getting together to work on common goals. And those goals often have to do with finding more freedom in their lives and creating a more free society. growing your own food, pulling your kids out of government school, looking out for one another, encrypted communication, all that good stuff. So there is strength in numbers, and that's really what the Freedom Cell Network is all about. So for the folks that haven't joined, I invite you to join at freedomcells.org or on, I guess it's the most popular app in the world. I didn't know that. I always learn something from this guy, Ramiro. So check us out on Telegram as well. So today I want to share what I call the Live Free Academy empowerment philosophy. Live Free Academy is a business that I started recently, and the goal is to help people find more freedom in their lives. And I've been an activist for like 20 years now. And in the last 10 years, I've dove really deep into success formulas and self-improvement and finding a better life, right? For myself, for my kids, so I'm not yelling at them and being all angry and stuff, for the relationships that I have, and also to make some money. Give it up for making money. Yeah. Right. I like money. I like making money. But this empowerment philosophy, it can help you find success in any area of life that you may be struggling in, or that you may not be in an ideal place, whether it's a relationship with your significant other, your parents, your friends, your employer, whether it is increasing your income or making better investments, or my personal favorite, whether it's the pursuit of freedom, right? So I'm going to share these 4 elements of this empowerment philosophy with you. And in doing so, I'm also going to share a big vision that I have. Wasn't sure what to talk about tonight. I wanted to share the empowerment philosophy, but I also want to let you guys know this big picture idea that I have that I'm pursuing. I want you to pursue it along with me. I thought, why don't I share the empowerment philosophy and then share it also my idea in the context of the empowerment philosophy, because I'm utilizing it in my life. So I'm going to do just that. So there's 4 elements to this empowerment philosophy. And again, these are 4 key areas if you want to find success in your life. The first element is to have the right mindset, to have what I call a sovereign mindset, right? This word sovereign, it's a very loaded word. Governments think that they're sovereign. There's people that call themselves sovereign citizens, which is kind of an oxymoron. But I define sovereign as being the highest authority, right? So governments think they're the highest authority over a certain arbitrary geographic area. But when I say a sovereign mindset, I'm really talking about being in control of our mind. There's a lot of people that have this inner voice, and the inner voice is their biggest critic, right? It's always putting them down, giving them a hard time. Oftentimes that inner voice has been programmed throughout our lives, whether it's from society, from our family, from our mothers, right? I'm a father. I try not to program my kids and let them be as free as possible, right? But we all do our best. And oftentimes that inner voice can bring us down. And I have found through mindfulness that we can actually tame that inner voice and leverage it to be our biggest fan in reality, right? Who has that inner voice in their head that they kind of talk to themselves? Is it a monologue, a dialogue? I don't know. It just depends on what's going on up there. I actually read this study or whatever it was that said that not everyone has an inner voice. Does everyone have an inner voice in this room? I can't understand what that would be like. I guess it'd be like Miriam's dream. You're just always in a state of meditation because thoughts are rolling away. I don't know. Anyway, so that inner voice, right? It can bring us down or it can lift us up. And so I want to strongly encourage everyone to be conscious of that inner voice. Having a sovereign mindset really is being conscious in the moment of our thought process, right? So mindfulness practice, like Miriam shared, meditation is like training for mindfulness practice. I think when you sit down and do meditation, it's kind of like a baseball player swinging a bat with weights on it, right? And he's getting ready to go up for the big game. So meditation is practice for life. Because oftentimes in the moment, you'll read like Thich Nhat Hanh or read the actual Buddha's language, the text, and you're like, this sounds great. Yeah, I feel all zenned out now. I got this, right? And then your kid pours a bottle of water on your head, or your significant other says something that triggers you, right? So in the moment, it's more difficult. Another great way to describe this is from this awesome book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by this guy named Stephen Covey. Well, the very first habit is to be proactive, right? Far too often, people get caught in a reactionary paradigm where they're simply reacting to those around them. They're reacting to the stimulus in their life. And what Stephen Covey teaches is that there's this magical area between stimulus and response where we have a choice. We can choose how we show up in the world in reaction to all this stuff that's taking place. That's what mindfulness really is all about. It gives you more power to choose in that magical space and not to just react to something. But to take it a step further too, we often find ourselves in a reactionary paradigm when it comes to activism. I realized in my activist career, like, we're marching, we're going to lobby against this new law. We're not creating more freedom. We're simply spinning our wheels. And in reality, the enemies of freedom are the ones that are in control of our destiny when we're constantly caught in a reactionary mode. Maybe it was fear. Miriam referenced earlier, there are people that were like, yeah, this COVID stuff is ridiculous. And then someone close to them died. And that's a total, like, totally takes them off their game. And now they're into that reactionary mode. Now they're playing into that narrative that's out there. And so I want to challenge everyone to be proactive, to set your sights on an ideal situation for you, yourself, for your family, for your community, and to pursue that path, to pursue it relentlessly, to pursue it aggressively, to double down on your goals and achieve them, right? So mindset is absolutely critical. I'm a big fan of the law of attraction. Where are my law of attraction folks in here? Right? Oh, dang. They're like, oh, that's some new age. It's like yoga. It's Satanism. Satanism, I tell you. People do think that. Law of manifestation. There you go. Well, I, for one, believe some people just stop at the law of attraction, right? They're like sitting down on their couch and they're thinking about riches, feeling rich, private jets, money bags, 25 Bitcoin. And they're like, where the fuck is all this stuff? I thought it was supposed to come, right? So I like law of attraction plus massive action, right? We got to take action. We got to make things happen. But there is something to the idea that what we focus on, we create more of in our lives. And a great example for our community, there's a lot of folks that just focus so much energy and thought on the problem that we're facing, on the New World Order. Or as Alex Jones says, the New World Order, I got the documents right there. I found myself checking out Alex Jones every once in a while. That's how I woke up, right? Do we ever really wake up? Unless we're like in front, underneath the Bodhi tree, we reach nirvana. Back in 2002, I caught a documentary called 9/11 Road to Tyranny. Anybody familiar with that one? Yeah. And I tell you what, it was a different ball game being a 9/11 truther back in 2002 than it was now. Like, it was Patriot fever. And I gave this speech in my community college at ACC. Basically, I was just regurgitating what was in that documentary. It wasn't very original, but the professor cut me off midway through. He gave me a C. Didn't let me finish. I just gotten through Oklahoma City bombing. I hadn't even gotten to 9/11. I could have given me an F. He said, we need to pull this guy. Pull him like Building 7. Larry Silverstein in there. So back to the topic at hand. So many people get caught in this mode where they're focusing on the problem. They're focusing on the Great Reset. They're focusing on the technocracy. They're focusing on the tyranny in this world. And I can't help but understand, no wonder folks like that are really scared and bent out of shape. And frankly, not so fun to be around sometimes. No wonder if that's your whole life and your whole world, when you go to your family dinner and you're like vomiting shit all over everyone, of course they're not going to take you seriously or want you around, right? And if you focus on the tyranny and the control and the surveillance, then you're going to feel enslaved. Now flip the script, right? Because we can all be conscious and proactive. We can choose what we focus on. That's really the game changer. Choosing what we focus on in life. If instead of focusing on all that, we focus on the beauty in the world, on the plastic bag floating. I guess it was a feather in that movie. More like a plastic bag here in Houston. Oh, no. Then we're going to feel a lot more joyful, a lot more happy. If we focus on the 99.99% of the time in our lives where we're in total control of what we do, how we act, the choices that we make, most of the time we're pretty damn free, right? we focus on that, if we focus on the community that we all have, the connection, getting our hands dirty in the garden, the smile on our children's faces, the warm hug that you have. I hope you still hug people, right? Some family members aren't into that. Then it really makes a big difference in your life. You'll find that you are more free, both spiritually and physically, right? So it's all about what we choose to focus on. Now, let me share my idea. Remember, that starts with mindset, right? Another big part of mindset is thinking big, dreaming big, having just, I call it big think, right? Of course, the enemies of liberty and all these technocrats, they got some pretty big think going on. In fact, they have intergenerational plans. Everyone's always like focused on the election of the day. Oh my God, the election of the day, the midterm elections, let's go. And these guys are like, well, we've been rolling this plan out for 200 years, passing it on to our children and their children's children, right? They're like on the 7 generations thing that Bros always talks about. So I think that we need to think as though we're the Illuminati of liberty, right? Some big stuff. So that's another part of mindset, having a big picture vision. So let me share mine with you. My big picture vision is to help spur and create a confederation of intentional communities and eco-villages where we all pack up our chit, move out of the big technocratic smart cities, buy large, beautiful rural pieces of land in the country, invite our friends to come stay with us. If you're not into that, then you can have your own little plot over here. And we link up all of these communities and we form trade networks. We employ one another. We raise our kids together. We homeschool them together. We form mutual defense compacts. I don't know what that looks like, but I don't know. We got to defend ourselves somehow. We have our own elders that we go to for justice, right? So that's my vision. There's a lot of, when we're in the city, I feel like we're in a reactionary paradigm. Now I'm sharing this vision and the Central Texas Freedom Cell Network is helping along with me. We're putting together an event. It's called the Exit and Build Land Summit. You can register for free at exitandbuildlandsummit.com, exitandbuildlandsummit.com. We're bringing together some cool people like Jack Spirko, the Survival Podcast, Marjorie Wildcraft, this woman named Cynthia Tina, who's an utmost authority on intentional community. Derek Rose will be presenting as well. And we're hoping to educate and inspire people, and most importantly, empower people. Because there's a lot of folks that want to get the heck out of Dodge. There's folks that want to stay. That's cool too. People are like, I got a career, I got a family here. But, you know, will you have a career for long if the mandates continue to accelerate? And maybe you can just bring your family. There's plenty of room in the country. At the end of the day, if folks remain in the city, though, we can still all be part of this thing, of this network, of this organization. We can all through the Freedom Cell network. That's my big vision. In fact, a lot of the tyranny and control is being carried out in the large cities, the 5G, interconnectivity, Internet of Things, authoritarian, aggressive police, right? That happens in the big cities. It's not exempt in the country, but it's not as aggressive. It's not as in your face. And that's where a lot of this great reset, technocracy stuff is going to pan out. There's this article that the World Economic Forum wrote. They're the guys behind the Great Reset. Is everybody familiar with the Great Reset? So this is this effort to create like a new world order 2.0, where there's this fourth industrial revolution where they want to merge biology and technology. They want to have like this meta thing. Facebook changed their name to Meta. It's like, all right, metaverse. That's what COVID-19 was such a perfect tool, right? That's why I think it was probably, you know, in the 9/11 world, we had MyHop and LIHOP. Everybody know that stuff? I got any old school 9/11 truthers in there? LIHOP was let it happen on purpose. That's where like Condoleezza Rice gave that thing at the 9/11 Commission report. And she's like, we had no idea that that bin Laden wanted to do that. And they're like, didn't you write a memo that said bin Laden determined to attack within the United States? It's like, what? Aren't y'all doing drills about crashing planes into buildings? So there's a let it happen on purpose. And then there's the MyHop, which is the camp I fall into. That's the made it happen on purpose. Controlled demolition, 6.5 seconds, all that stuff. You know what I'm talking about. So when it comes to COVID-19, it's like, did they let it happen on purpose? It was released in a lab accidentally. And they're like, well, this is going to benefit us immensely. Transfer trillions of dollars of wealth to the mega corporations. Freak everyone out. So they take this weird experimental jab. It's not even a vaccine. Or was it like, hey, it's time to roll. Let's do our Event 201 planning and Crimson Contagion and all this stuff old bros uncovered. And it's like, it's time. They're getting too free. They're starting to believe in themselves. They're starting to, I mean, Trump, I think Trump was a total like, whoa, for the Illuminati, the deep state, all these. We used to call it the shadow government. Everyone calls it the deep state these days. We called it the shadow government. I think he kind of threw a wrench in their gears, and they're like, holy shit, we got to do something about this guy. Not a Trump guy. Definitely not a Biden guy. But so did they make it happen? Is it too perfect? Whatever. So there's this great essay. That's the Greater Reset. The guy that behind it, Klaus Schwab, he's like total supervillain type, even wears these really weird outfits. He's like Dr. Evil, but like in real life and not as funny. He wrote this book, COVID-19, The Great Reset. And it's like perfectly lays out how beneficial this is. Part of this whole metaverse thing is like get everyone out from this kind of situation and behind a computer, virtual reality. That's why COVID-19, all these lockdowns were so perfect to start setting that stage. Another big part of it is to have these mega corporations that emerge with the state. It's called fascism. And kill small businesses where people can be independent and have self-determination, right? It's just all too perfect. Well, the World Economic Forum penned this article, and literally the headline was, the year is 2030. I own nothing, have no privacy, and couldn't be happier. Man, some great writing there. And then it was shared on Forbes, right? It was like an editorial thing. And then everybody started talking about the Great Reset, and CNN's like, the Great Reset, a latest conspiracy theory coming out of the QAnon movement. Right? That was a good move, the QAnon thing. I think it was a total psyop, because now anytime you start to talk to someone about some kind of conspiratorial thing or about pedophilia in the elite circles, they're like, you're Republican QAnon Trumper. And you're like, what are you talking about? We've been talking about this shit for 15 years. What? It was well played. Yeah, that's right. Kooks. They used to have this thing, kookify. They kookified us. Anyway, this article, it goes through and it talks about how we own nothing. We rent everything. We don't have any possessions. When we're not using something like our sofa in our living room, someone else uses it. And it's great. Just love it. Just love it. Oh my God. They talk about AI taking over our jobs. They took our jobs. And be computers, right? I know that's South Park. They took our jobs. They took our jobs. So I got this thing when I give speeches where anything that pops in the head, I just let it go. So thanks for coming along with me. So they wrote this article, and it's really creepy. But at the end, there's this part, and it says, I'm concerned, however. There's some people that didn't adapt when the IT took over our jobs. They weren't happy with all the changes in the world. They now find themselves in 18th century like villages and self-supplying communities on the outside of the city. And I was like, that's fucking right. That's what I want to do, right? So the point is, these evil Illuminati types are thinking big. They want to basically create a totalitarian global government, mass surveillance panopticon society, and they're pretty far along on that agenda. They're thinking big. Why don't we think big? They're going to do that thing over there. I don't know that we're going to be able to stop them. I'm an idealist, but I'm also a realist. I don't know. They're pretty far advanced. Everyone's just going lockstep. Lockstep, Rockefeller. Everyone's going lockstep along with the agenda. So it's like, all right, you guys do that over there. We're going to do this over here. We're going to have beautiful, glowing skin, healthy children. We're not going to be vaccinated. We're going to be super healthy, super free, wealthy with all our crypto riches, right? Give it up for crypto riches. Yeah. This guy's like a billionaire on Dogecoin over here. He's like, no, man, Shiba Inu. That's the one. There's all these people getting rich on these meme coins, like literally like hundreds of millions of dollars. It's nuts. That's going to help us because now there's all these anarchist libertarian types that are freaking loaded. Giving money out left and right. I love it. So the point is, back to the mindset thing. Let's think big. They got big plans. We got big plans. And our plans are based on freedom and natural law. And they're more in line with the natural order of things. Theirs are based on deceit, fear, deception, all this ugly stuff. So I think we kind of had an advantage over them on that one. Right? Okay. Starts with mindset. Get your mind right, sovereign mind, be in control of your mind, think big, believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. Believe in yourself, everyone. You can accomplish your goals. You're all beautiful, powerful, free people. We can do this. We got this. All right, but it doesn't stop there because that's all kind of hairy-fairy. It's more that satanic yoga stuff. Saw y'all doing a satanic ritual over here with Miriam earlier. That was weird. No, I did a stream. I was on the first 2 stops of the tour here in Texas, and we did a stream. And I'm watching the comments on the stream, and we're doing this yoga, the yoga thing, and the meditation. And this guy's like, "Oh, you guys lost me. This goes against Jesus Christ. I didn't know y'all were into Satanism. I should have known." We're just chilling, not thinking about anything. Nothing satanic about that at all. Okay. The second part is strategy. Okay. Mindset followed by strategy, which I like to think of strategy as how do we get from here to there? Okay. Our favorite strategy here in this community, in the Freedom Cells, is exit and build strategy. Some people are like, we got to march, we got to vote. Just kind of laugh at voting. It's just, what's that quote? If voting did anything, it'd be illegal. And everyone's like, they rigged the election. Oh my God, let's storm the Capitol. It's like they've been rigging every single damn election. And if it's not rigged like stealing votes, it's rigged because everyone is so manipulated and ignorant. God. Exit and build strategy. What does that mean? We exit the matrix. We exit the centralized, coercive institutions that we no longer find valuable, that we find, frankly, quite useless and unethical in most instances. And we build the alternatives. We exit the centralized, we build the decentralized. We exit big tech, we build alternative platforms and roll with Ramiro, right? We exit the big cities, that's your thing. And we build intentional communities in the country. Exit and build. Ultimately, someday we exit entirely. We withdraw consent to be governed by the United States of America, and we no longer pay income tax, property tax, or any of that shit. Right? Derek Bros is over there like, what the fuck are you guys waiting for? Come on, let's roll. So, but here's the challenge, right? I say that and some people are like, oh, I got a 401k, man. I just signed up for a mortgage. My kids are in a great school. I got a job, JOB, W-2, man. Right? So that's why I say we build so we may exit. Right? All the stuff that we're talking about here, except for the not paying taxes part, well, some could argue that that's actually legal because it's like voluntary compliance. Is it really income? All this kind of stuff. Talk about the sovereign citizens back in, right? It's coerced. It's unethical. There's even this research that says it wasn't even constitutionally passed, the 16th Amendment. What's this guy's name? I forget this guy's name, but there's this great book. Erwin Schiff's great too. There's one called the Law That Never Was is what it's called. Probably get arrested reading that book. Not G.A. Griffin. Erwin Schiff's good too. So all the stuff we're talking about isn't even illegal, and frankly, it's not even risky. Right? We can start building now. Grow your own food. Pull your kids out of government school. I like to say government school instead of public school because it really showed you like what it is. Or we could say pull your kids out of the indoctrination centers, the control grid. Stop using big tech and Gmail. Take your own advice, asshole. I do have a Gmail, but I also have a Proton Mail. And then Ramiro's like, actually, Proton Mail, we just recently found out they've been infiltrated by the Saudi Arabia or something. I don't fucking know. And it's like, Telegram. I heard Bill Gates bought Telegram. I saw it on a little screenshot. Therefore, it must be true. You know those guys? That's all y'all. Come on. What's the source? A screenshot on Telegram. So we build so we may exit. We don't have to exit and stop paying, put ourselves at risk unless you're down. We build now so we may exit, right? And this can work in a big meta way, like a metaverse. This can work in a big picture way with all of us doing it together, or it can work on your individual life. So one thing that I like to teach when it comes to this exit and build stuff, I encourage people to take stock, right? Derek's got this book, The Holistic Self-Assessment, right? We'll take a self-assessment on how much of your life isn't in line with your values. Because if you're in this room, I imagine you value freedom and privacy and decentralization and this other weird way of doing things that we're all into. But most of us probably still use a Gmail, or maybe some of you have your kids in government school, right? So you take, maybe some of you get most, if not all, of your food from the grocery store, which not only isn't the best thing to do for your wallet, but it also isn't good for the environment. I remember seeing this thing. It was some kind of fruit, and it's like grown in South America, shipped to China to be packaged, and then right back to the US to sell to you and me, right? So maybe you have an overt reliance on the supermarket. So you take stock of all that, you write it down. You're like, all right, these are some things that I could improve upon, this area here. Another great one is like you pull out your checkbook. If it says Chase Manhattan Bank, that's the Rockefellers. If it says Wells Fargo or HSBC, who laundered money for the drug cartels, right? Then you could switch to a credit union, or better yet, to a cryptocurrency wallet. So what I encourage people to do is take stock, is record it, write it down, and then come up with a path, a plan, set out some goals. Goals are a big part of this strategy, right? And so to share about the strategy that I have for this big picture idea where we build this confederation of freedom cells and intentional communities, we're hosting this event to help share the idea. Another thing that I'm doing, I do cryptocurrency consultations also, and through my business, Live Free Academy, I teach a lot of cryptocurrency workshops. And there's a lot of folks that are looking for things to do with their money, right? Put it in cryptocurrency, put it in land's also a great idea. So we started a company that's going to bring together investors that want to put their money together to buy large pieces of land, and then we're going to subdivide the land and sell it to like-minded people. And we want to do this to where we can raise enough capital to where perhaps we can leave the banks out of the picture altogether, and we can be the lender to folks. Because a lot of folks are like, banks don't like me for some reason. Got to pay your bills, man. But there's some people that have a weird job or self-employed or whatever, right? So that's part of the strategy that I'm employing for this big picture idea. I'm also sharing why the cities, I think, are a dangerous place to be if you value freedom, and how this technocracy and this great reset and technocracy and surveillance state is going to be carried out in the big cities. We're helping people to move. We have a group called the Central Texas Land Co-op. There's like 150 of us. We're all wanting to buy land and move out of the city, right? So it's all about strategy. Come up with a plan, come up with goals, write these goals down, focus on the goals, and to go back to the mindset thing, set big, sexy goals, man. Like we have like 400 people in the Central Texas Freedom Cell Network. And I was thinking, how about in 2022, we have a goal of 1,000 people. And I was like, why don't we 10X that? I'm a big Grant Cardone guy. Anybody know Grant Cardone? Big success, sales. He's got a lot of properties that he owns here in Houston. I was a big fan of his. He taught me about sales and money and running a business and marketing. And now all of a sudden he's like gone deep down the rabbit hole because like he's railing on the vaccine. YouTube censored one of his videos. He's talking about Event 201. So I thought that was pretty cool. But either way, he talks about 10X. So we 10X that goal. So it's like 1,000 people. That's lame. How about 10,000 people by the end of 2022? It makes you start thinking bigger. Like, okay, 10,000 people. What would that look like? What would we have to do? Maybe we need to do more events. Maybe we need to do some leadership training so we can teach people how to recruit other people and bring people into the cause, right? Set big, sexy goals because it'll really motivate you to make some stuff happen. All right, 2 last components. The next one is to work with other people. All of your goals, personal life, success goals, money, all of our freedom goals, they're all going to be amplified, magnified, and more easily attainable if we work with like-minded people to achieve those goals, right? So network with one another, join the Freedom Cell Network. It's the ultimate tool to bring together folks for doing just that. I strongly encourage you, if you haven't joined, to be a part of it. There's a very strong, active community here in Houston. They'll get you situated. You can go to them with questions, with advice. There's a lot of folks that are employing one another and finding jobs for one another, you know, because they could do this whole mandate thing. And it's like, we don't even work for your stupid corporation anyway. We work with each other, doing cool things and catering to our own community. That's how we win. We just opt out of all that nonsense and get an environment where they can't pressure us. We've been doing our own thing. You can't enter our grocery store. And we're like, man, we've been growing our own food. Shit's organic, dude. Your grocery store sucks. I'm going to go in there anyway. People, mindset, strategy, people. Work together with other people. And the 4th component is to take massive action. I'm talking crazy levels of action, right? We got big goals, we got big dreams, we got big plans. In order to accomplish these goals, we're going to need to have the right mindset, the right strategy. We're going to have to work together with one another. We're going to have to take massive action. Maybe that means you got to give something up. Maybe a little bit less Netflix and a little more gardening. Maybe a little less drinking and happy hour and a little more exercising and subverting the state. All right, so those are the 4 elements of the Live Free Academy empowerment philosophy: mindset, sovereign mindset, the right strategy, working together with other human beings and taking massive action. And I hope that you will join me in my desire and our desire to create a confederation of intentional communities and freedom cell networks, so together we can opt out, we can thumb our nose at the man, and we can live the free life that we all deserve to live. Thank you. All righty. Coming up next, the man you've all been waiting for. Man, this guy's a total badass. Give it up for Derek Bros, ladies and gentlemen. I've known Derek for 10 years now, and I've always been inspired by the dude. You know, back in the day, I was doing all sorts of activism and just going at it 10x with all the activism. Before him, yeah. And then I had kids and realized I was freaking dirt poor. And I was like, man, I could do that, the starving activist thing on my own. But now that I got 2 mouths to feed, this kind of sucks. So I pulled back and I started feeling really anxious. I was like, man, I need to be there on the front lines. Got a lot to say. I want to help the cause of freedom. But I consciously was like, you know what? Motherfucker Derek Bros is out there just killing it. And his message is so on point, mixed in that spirituality too. So that helped me to feel at ease. And now he's just, man, he's just like, how many documentaries is this guy doing? Where's he get time for that stuff? What's going on here? He's got this lovely lady in empowerment, and now she's speaking and doing all this cool stuff too, and guiding us through meditation and dropping all this wisdom. So super excited to know you guys, super inspired to be a part of this community. Let's give it up for Derek Bros, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, thank you guys for being here. So we timed this from 6 to 10 p.m. It's 8:30 now. You still with us? Still awake? I want to do a couple of mentions before we go further. Just one thing for those who are here tonight, we appreciate you being here. As I was saying earlier, this tour, we sort of, every city we're visiting, we're doing this sort of main evening event, the meditation, the talks, and the music. I'm going to perform some music in a bit, but it's also a 2-part component. Sometimes when we arrive to a city, we will show up, we'll go out, and a couple of days in Atlanta, we fed the houseless. We've cleaned up a park in Seattle and a few other places. Sometimes we've gone out and done outreach, passing out flyers about vaccine passports and vaccine mandates. We've done urban farming workshops, community gardening work, all kinds of different things like this in every city we visit. So we just arrived to Houston literally right before the event from Orlando. We had our event on Wednesday. We're back home now. This is the end of the tour. But tomorrow is the second day, and I want to invite all of you to participate. Those of you who want to continue your involvement, tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., we're going to be cleaning up a cemetery. If you want to get more details, please talk to Apple/Reba. You want to raise your hand real quick? She's helped organize that in the morning. If you want to come, just get involved. This is just, of course, us trying to show that we need to lead by example. If we want to take care of the world, take care of our communities, we need to do it ourselves, not wait around for other people to do it. So that's the first part. And then in the afternoon from 2 p.m. to about 5 p.m., we're going to be having a march. We're calling it the Houston March for Unity and Truth. And I would love to see all of you there. If you want to come out, we're going to be peacefully marching, meeting at Bagby Park, not far from here, and marching over towards Allen Parkway. And yeah, we're going to have some speeches. There'll be different groups involved. And I'll tell you guys, since you're here now, but those who are showing up tomorrow will get a surprise. We paid to have this plane flying over downtown Houston from 2 to 4 p.m. tomorrow. It's going to say no vax mandate. Join us, freedomcells.org. And it's going to be fun. Thank you. It's going to be flying down Allen Parkway around downtown for 2 hours tomorrow. So make sure to ask your friends to take a look over there. So yeah, so we're doing a lot of different things, and I invite you, if you came tonight, please continue to get involved. The other thing is, you know, I'm about to share about an hour worth of information with you guys and some solutions to kind of expand on what John has said, Ramiro has said, and what Miriam has said. But besides us sharing what we have to share, you guys know I'm from Houston. We're from Houston, but we live in Mexico now. In a week and a half, we're going back to Mexico. But the rest of you who live in different parts of the city, I know some of y'all live in Houston, others different kind of suburban areas. You guys are the ones that have to continue the work here, right? We have friends that are visiting from Dallas and from some other places tonight. But ultimately, those of you who feel committed to Houston or Katy or Sugar Land or whatever particular area you're coming from are the ones that need to connect. So I want to just, again, if you want to get involved more, I invite you to connect with Reba. Please raise your hand again if you feel like standing up for a second. Yeah, stand up for just Shireen as well. Becky's with Freedom Matters Action Group. These are people who are local, who are very active, as well as Natalie. She's got her table right here with her goods. She's back in the back of the room. Please connect with these people. Get to know people. If you're looking around the room and you don't really know the other folks here, and you feel like you're staying in the city or the surrounding areas, these are the people you need to connect with, the people who gave a crap enough to come out on a Friday night and be at an event like this, right? If you're looking for active people, you're looking to connect with other people, these are the people here. So please, we'll try to make time for that networking at the end. And then I am going to perform my music. So let's go ahead and just dive right into it. This talk that I'm giving is called This Is What We're Facing and This Is What We Can Do About It. We should have done this much earlier. I apologize. It's going to be just a moment of shuffling. But before we go further, I am going to need all the vaccinated on this side and the unvaccinated on this side. All right. So far, no compliance, and it's the end of the tour. So thankfully, no one around the country has moved when I said that. Obviously, I'm joking, right? But I'm joking about a reality that we're dealing with that's happening in this world. And we're going to dive into that. We're going to talk about what we're facing. As I said, we're going to really emphasize what we can do about it. But I do want to provide a little bit of background for those who might be here on the invitation of a friend or not really sure how you got here or what you're in for, about why we're doing this event. You know, it's called the Activation Tour. My website is called The Conscious Resistance, the books, sometimes holistic activism or holistic anarchism. You know, we incorporate meditation, things like that. Maybe you're not really sure why we do that or what it has to do with fighting against vaccine passports and vaccine mandates. So I'm going to try to make a little more sense to you by sharing a bit about myself for those who might not be familiar. So most of you know me because for the last 12 years, I've been working as an activist and a journalist here in the city. I'm 36 now. I started doing this 23, 24. Started waking up when I was living literally just down the street from here, read a book from that Barnes & Noble down the street, picked up a copy of Endgame from Alex Jones, heard Ron Paul speak at U of H, not far from here, and things were never the same. And my journey very much kind of started around here and started getting connected with some of the people here in the spiritual community, in the activist community, and started an activist group called the Houston Freethinkers that some of you might remember that was around for a number of years, very active. We did everything from protests, rallies, marches, confronting politicians, confronting police, building community gardens, hosting skill shares, music event, art events, I mean, anything we could think of to really try to get people active. And our whole goal was really not even just let's go out and protest, but try to build a culture, like a movement. To me, especially living in here around this area where there's a lot of 20, 30 somethings just going to the bar every weekend, being jaded, not paying attention to what's going on in the world around them, who could really give a crap less about whatever you're talking about. And myself and Micah and some other people, we'd go out there to the cheap drink nights and try to talk to people about the world. And it was a fun process. And it was beautiful though. We did so much, there's so many things that I'm proud of in that time. One of the main things is through the effort of the Houston Freethinkers and other activists here, we helped Houston become the only city in the country, and this is still to this day, to kick the TSA off the buses. You might know the TSA for groping you at the airports, but in 2012, they announced this program that said anybody in the city of Houston who chose to ride public transportation would be subject to random bag searches, ID checks, and drug sniffing dogs. So ourselves and a few hundred activists rallied together, went to the Metro board meeting, and within 2 weeks, they shut down the entire program. Thank you. And yeah, that was, one of those moments of like, holy crap, we just did that. Like we actually did have an impact. And we didn't go beg the government, please stop doing this. We went to the corporation directly into their board meeting, which is typically, I'm thinking, a stuffy boardroom that nobody's ever there. Because who the heck goes to a public meeting of the Metro board, corporation? Well, when they did that, we filled it with about 200 people 2 weeks in a row. And they were just like, all right, we don't even want to deal with this. We'll end it, right? So we had some impact. And it was also around this time that I started to realize just how much of a crappy job the media does. Because we had that event, we got interviewed by the local media. Some ways they tried to misrepresent our opinions. We had another situation where one of our festivals, our music festivals for the community, police showed up based on a false, noise complaint. They ended up arresting me. They, threw Micah against the car. We had this whole crazy thing happen. And then the cop pulled out a shotgun on 100 unarmed people and pulled it and said, "Get back now," and pointed at them. They arrested me, took me to jail. We got it all on camera. When I got out of jail the next day, we put it into a video, put it out there, sent out a press release, and within 10 minutes, all the news was at my house to do an interview with me. And then by that, it was the top story everywhere. HPD had to make a statement, respond to it. They did an investigation. Surprise, surprise. They said they didn't do anything wrong. But that night, when they all ran the news stories, the articles, and the videos, wouldn't you know it, after being all friendly in our faces, they said we were a drunk mob of people surrounding the cops and that, we were the aggressors. And just, it was, for me, kind of an awareness of, okay, so this is how this works. I know things are corrupt, but this is how it works even on the local level. And that was the beginning of me wanting to get into journalism. And really, I think at the beginning, I didn't really know what to make of it. I didn't go to school for journalism. I just started putting cameras in the mayor's faces and the police chief's faces and realizing that, hey, when I'm here with my little handheld camera shaking, trying to ask a serious question, and you got all the mainstream news with their $1 million cameras, and none of them will ask a single question because they want to be invited to the galas and the banquets and the dinners and the inside club. And when I would ask the question, they would treat me like I was doing something wrong. But it really honestly just encouraged me. I sort of get a thrill to watching politicians run when I ask them questions. It's been fun. I mean, I think it really shatters the paradigm, right? They like to live in this bubble that like they're so much different and better than all of us. These politicians, we should praise them or whatever. And they're surrounded by people who are yes men and women to them, who just fill their, blow smoke up their ass or whatever, right? And then they get into a bubble where somebody just pierces through that and says, "Here's a question." And they don't even what a short circuit. They don't even know how to think, right? So I started to have fun with this, and I started to realize I have a knack for this. I like to investigate. I like to research. And thankfully, along the way, I've been able to make a living with it. I currently write for the website The Last American Vagabond, Ryan Christian. Some of you guys might know Ryan's work. And I still have a show on 90.1 KPFT here in Houston, even though I'm not living here. We still do that show. I've, as John said, produced a number of different documentaries, bringing down Jeffrey Epstein, the 5G Trojan horse, currently working on a 16-part documentary series called The Pyramid of Power that some of you, I think, might enjoy. You can find it at thepyramidofpower.net. I've written 5 books, some that are here. I've just been doing this work over the last 12 years, trying to think of any way I can to get people thinking and in questioning the world. Ultimately, it's sort of a strategy like this. I use my journalism to say, hey, look at this crazy thing. Did you guys know about this? You see this thing happening? And then through my talks and the books and the more philosophical stuff, say, now here's some things we can do about it, right? Let's not just obsess over the problem, but let's see what are the steps we can take. And it's been a beautiful journey. This has allowed me to get to the point now where we can do a 29-city tour across the country and people volunteer to come help us make it happen. And I mean, it really has been the most humbling 2 months of my life, I can say, like just everywhere we've been going, not even just people saying thank you individually for my work, but for the Greater Reset, for the Freedom Zone Network, people who are buying land with people they met through the Freedom Zone Network, people who are pulling their kids out of school with people they met through the Freedom Zone Network, people who are pulling their money out of the banks, they're growing food together. The people who are taking things most seriously and being the most proactive are having success. Those who want to keep talking and sharing political news or just arguing about viruses will probably continue to do those things until they feel threatened again. But I guess the reason we're here tonight, and the reason I'm sharing this story is I know that many of you know my activism and the things I've been doing, and you understand the value of that, but that's part of my awakening journey. But I feel like for me, really, the way I got here to be with you guys tonight, talking about how to get activated, started about 5 years before that. I was 20 years old, and I got addicted to crystal meth, and I went to prison. When I was in January 2005, I tried crystal meth for the first time, and it was pretty much just a 10-month, 11-month crash to the bottom, and then a little bit lower. I ended up homeless, living in a crack house, meth house. I had to get myself sober, thankfully, and I got out of that world. But I was still kind of, I still had friends in that world, and I needed to make some money, and I knew I could do one more deal, one of those kind of stereotypical one more deals, right? And I got arrested, 20 years old, a week before I turned 21. And it was in that space, November 2005, when I got my sentence, and I really felt powerless. You ever had a situation where you're truly powerless? Like, I mean, whatever it is you're dealing with, you can call husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, mom, dad, lawyer, friend, whatever, and maybe they can kind of listen and be there for you. But ultimately, you have to live it. There's nothing, there's nothing that's going to take this away, right? And it's one thing when you're out here. It's kind of interesting. When you're in jail, we refer to this place as the free world. I'm kind of wondering if we should rethink that. But when you're here in the free world, or the free-ish world, let's say, you have Netflix to distract you and the internet and, just whatever. You could drink yourself to distractions. You could just watch TV. There's all kinds of ways, even when you're feeling that powerlessness, that pain, to try to avoid it if you want to. But being in prison, being locked up, getting there and recognizing, looking at the calendar, and the earliest I'm going home is 11 months from now. That's the absolute earliest I'm going to be seeing anywhere outside of this place, besides where they tell me I can go. And I can cry, I can complain, I can get on the phone and cry to my girlfriend, my mom, my lawyer, but nobody's getting me out of here. That feeling of just having to accept that, not only, it felt very powerless at first, but it's also where I found my strength. And that was the beginning of me starting to figure out, like, how did I get here? And what am I, I need to figure this out. And I very clearly saw these two paths that I could go. One of the paths was what I'll call a path of family tradition, because on both sides of my family, my mother's side and my father's side, drug abuse, alcohol abuse, and prison are very prominent. And so this is something that I grew up seeing. My uncle, my father, some of my earliest memories are visiting my father in prison and seeing him, kind of navigating that 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, whatever, trying to understand, why do we have to go see him behind razor wire? Why does he have a black eye? How come I only get to see him for an hour? Just trying to understand all that. And I remember being a very sad little kid. I definitely remember starting to have suicidal thoughts at a young age. And that sadness eventually turned into anger when I got to become a teenager. And it was sort of like the way that I protected myself, this whole dark side, right, that Star Wars talks about. You think you're covered, you're stronger now, but really you're just masking whatever you're trying to hide from. But at that time, when I turned 14, it was one more time that he had gotten out of prison. He'd made some promises he was going to be there. And sure enough, within 48 hours, he was already on the way back to prison. That was sort of the cycle that had been happening over my young life. And I remember the moment that happened, staring into the mirror and just saying, F this, like, I'm never going to let anybody hurt me again. And just becoming destructive. So I was a smart kid. I was in all advanced classes. I ended up graduating high school early, went into college early, but nobody knew that about me. They knew me as the kid that was throwing chairs at teachers, getting arrested, getting in fights. And I just didn't know how to handle all this stuff, right? I didn't really have the tools or the way to kind of navigate forward to graduating out of high school, going into college early, living with my brother, hanging out with his friends, started drinking all the time. Sooner or later, that I was the drunk guy at all the parties, puking everywhere. And this was a 2-year cycle. Okay, I'm drunk all the time. Now I'm pilled out all the time. Now I'm on ecstasy all the time. Then I tried crystal. Within 10 months, was locked up. It was just this sort of chaotic 2-year period leading to me getting locked up. Now, with hindsight, of course, I can clearly see like the path of this. But at this time, when I'm 20 years old, just turning 21, locked up, looking at the calendar, I'm not going home till next year. None of this was clear yet. I was just like, I need to figure this out. And so I started journaling every day. I started just writing my thoughts down and really thinking about, like, how did I get here? What is this process that brought me to this place, right? And then one day and when you're locked up, they, you get to read the Chronicle while you're in Houston. And I was reading the Chronicle on the weekend. And on the weekend, they have a religious section. And it quotes from like the Bible, the Torah, the Quran, and different traditions. And it quoted from the Dhammapada, the Buddhist Bible. And it was just a couple of verses that I really wish I remembered, because the story, every time I tell it, would be so much better if I said, and this is what I read. But I don't remember it. But it was really epic. And I started to get family and friends to send me books on meditation and prayer. And just, it was kind of the beginning of my spiritual journey of starting to like, okay, I'm going to figure out what is in here. Why was I trying to stick up as many drugs up my nose as possible? What was I really looking for? For a while, I thought drugs were the key to enlightenment. It doesn't take long to figure out, not so much. And yeah, so I'm in this space, just knowing I'm not going home. I start journaling every day, start meditating. And I think that's probably one of the strongest, the most needed places in prison, because it is a lot of fear. There's a lot of ego in there, definitely a lot of fear, people putting on and masking, again, the fear as ego. And and it was in that space, I just started doing that healing journey and started to understand these things that now with 17 years reflection, I can kind of say, oh, wow, I see what happened to me, right? So between 2005 and 2008, I did 19 months in Texas state institutions. I did 11 months, got out for 5, went back for 3. I was, figuring it out, and I was starting the healing, right? And so I got out October 2008, about a month before Obama became elected, which was a really interesting time to be emerging to the world, because I was not very political. I knew enough not to trust the government, but I didn't know anything else beyond that, other than, man, people really love this guy. They either think he's going to be the savior of the world or he's the Antichrist. Turns out he was just another warmonger president. But it was an interesting time to be coming into the world, because I was now a felon here, living in Houston. You can't get a job here. You can't get rented here. People hear you're a felon. They might make certain judgments or assumptions about you that must mean you're a violent, dangerous person, or whatever that means, right? And I just want to say it's interesting, right? Because this never comes up in the reality that I've created for myself now. I've never had anybody say, hey, before you make a documentary for me or write an article for me, can I see your criminal history? It just doesn't even affect me. But I guarantee if I tried to go back into this world, this matrix, it would absolutely come up that I have a felony from 17 years ago. And it might even cost me a job. It definitely has kept me from being able to be rented around here. even though I paid my debt to society. But I got out in October 2008. I'm a felon now. I'm living in the Heights. I'm going to the Heights library every day, applying for jobs, trying to get a job now because it was very difficult. But it was in this time that I felt like this cloud had lifted off me, not only the cloud of depression, like I finally was able to start saying I love myself and get to a point of where I felt pretty good about who I was, or at least that I was on the way to that point. I remember the first time I enjoyed a sunset, like truly, I think probably in my life. It was, and it's such a perfect example of what I was going through. I finally found a crappy job. It was 2-hour bus that way to like the west side of town, unloading some, trucks. And they would only give me 4 hours a day, a couple days a week. That's all they would give me. But I had to take a 2-hour bus there, work 4 hours, 2-hour bus back this way, and do that a couple times just to keep going on my parole. So I met all the, the demands that they had for me. But I was still just so happy. I was so happy to be free. I was like, I'm done with probation, parole. I'm done with all this. I'm free finally. I'm excited about the world. And I remember I was getting off from work and I was just walking to catch the bus, and there was a field and there was a sunset. And I just ended up literally taking a nap and just chilling and watching the sunset. And that was something that was so different from anything I would have done previously. And it's actually interesting because as I started to change, some of the people I knew previously, I was still trying to keep some of my old circles around, right? Some old friends. But then I knew we were going in different directions when they started to say things like, I'm really getting sick of your optimism. like the people I would hanging out with, they were just like, you're too happy, man. I don't know. I don't get it. Like, are you sure you're not on drugs? I'm like, no, man, it's just chugging juice over here. I literally was going around. People were like, are you high, bro? Are you rolling? I'm like, no, this is orange juice. I've just been chugging it all day. I was just happy to be alive. Like, I was happy to be alive. So it was in that space, going to the library every day over here in the Heights. Eventually, I decided to check out one of those books. I read this book called Cannabis: A History. It was all about the true origins of the drug war, and specifically cannabis and the Harrison Act of 1914. And this whole history that I wasn't taught in high school. And as somebody who just got out of the drug war, out of prison for the drug war, it was very interesting to me. It was this light bulb went off like, oh my God, this is not what I was told. And I just went through this. What else is there? And that was the beginning. That was going into 2009 to 2010. And I was living right down here on West Gray. Like I said, I watched a documentary, read a book, and things were never the same. Started the Houston Freethinkers and all these wonderful things I've been up to, right? But my point with sharing that story is that I believe that without going through that, I don't think I would have been here, right? That's what eventually led me to create the Conscious Resistance, right? So let me kind of give you a little bit more description of what happened. I get out 2008 going into 2009, I start waking up spiritually. I met some of these folks here. I start joining different meditation circles and consciousness groups in Houston. I start meeting different activists. And for the first couple years of my activism, I was basically living a double life because it was like a lot of the people I was working with at that time maybe didn't see the kind of synergy, the connection between the fight for freedom in the physical realm and that struggle for spiritual connection, right? So I would be at my activist groups and my protests and rallies, and we'd be on the street, protesting the Federal Reserve or marching against Monsanto or whatever. And I'd say, hey guys, you want to come to this meditation or something? And they'd say, what are you talking about, hippie? We don't want to practice. There was just a lot of disinterest in looking deeper, right? Or I'd say something weird like, hey guys, you ever thought maybe we're all God? Maybe we're just like reflections of each other. I'd start going off on some weird thing and they would just look at me like I was crazy and treat me like I was crazy. So I was like, okay, I won't bring up my meditation interest to my activist friends. And then I'd be at my meditation circles and our consciousness groups. And I'd say, hey guys, have you heard about this latest police shooting? You see what they're trying to do with these vaccine mandates? And they'd say, don't talk about it. You're going to manifest it. Don't talk about it. Don't bring the bad vibes. You guys know what I'm talking about. And that was the reality. So for the first couple of years, I just, okay, I'll go to those groups with those people and I'll go to the protests with these people and that'll be that. And then in 2013, I had another shift or download, if you will. And that's when that phrase, the conscious resistance, came to me. So the conscious resistance, or what we more recently refer to as holistic activism, it's simply the recognition, the understanding that the struggle for a more free, ethical, and just world is not going to come from only confronting the physical institutions of power. Do we need to expose the Great Reset and the technocracy and the Bill Gateses and the Faucis of the world? Yes, absolutely. There needs to be accountability. There needs to be truth. There needs to be a reckoning. And that's why I do journalism. That's why I do documentaries. That's part of it for sure, right? But if we only focus on that element and we ignore what we call the internal tyrant, your own doubts, fears, insecurities, and limiting beliefs and things that can hold you back, then I think it will only take a couple generations before we cycle back and create the same thing. If we ignore our egos and the trauma that each of us have to different levels, that could be intergenerational trauma. It could be things that you've experienced directly in your life. I'm not here to tell you your path. I shared a little bit about my path Because every time I share that story, somebody will come up to me and say, I've never touched drugs in my life, but this is the way I've been struggling, or this is what my family's dealing with, or this is what I'm going through, right? We're all in different places, and things that might seem silly to one person, like, oh, I can't believe you let that affect you. You're so beautiful and, amazing. I can't believe that, can be very paralyzing for another person. And when I went through that and I made it through the other side, and I'm here now and I'm meeting other people who are still going through that. I meet addicts in our communities, people who are very awake to the world, but they're still struggling with their addictions, or they're still struggling with their traumas, right? And I recognize that, let's imagine I was still going with that trauma right now. I was still addicted to drugs in 2021. And I met one of you amazing people on the streets. You tried to hand me a flyer, and you're telling me all about the vaccine passports and the mandates. I would have listened to you. I would have heard you, but I wouldn't have been able to do anything about it because I was trying not to kill myself that day. I was just trying to make it through another traumatic time, right? I was in a very bad place. And so I see that now. I see that there's so many other brothers and sisters that are dealing with various levels of trauma. And until we are able to help them kind of begin their healing journey, whatever that means, I'm not here to tell you what modality, whether that's prayer, meditation, or whatever, or even just talking with somebody, what to choose. That's up to you to decide. But whatever it is you choose, it's more important than ever, because I don't know if you guys are looking around the world right now, but it seems like this is probably the time we need the best versions of ourselves. Anybody else feel like this is the time you're here for? Like this is the reason you're on this planet? I definitely feel like this is what I'm supposed to be here for. And I think to do that, we have an opportunity to rise to the occasion, and that's going to take effort. It's going to take energy. It's going to take maybe facing some things within us that we don't want to. Might take working with other people. Might take pushing past challenges and fears. So I just share that with you guys so you understand. That's why we start with the meditation. That's why we're bringing in that consciousness element, because absolutely, we're going to go out there and march tomorrow. We're going to talk to people about all the crimes that are happening. And we're going to have a call for unity and for truth. But I also recognize that it is this much. It's internal as well. Is everybody coming to awareness that this is a spiritual battle as much as it is a physical one? If you haven't yet, you will soon see that. So that was my long-winded introduction, guys. But thank you for being here. I'm going to continue. What are we facing? What are we facing? We'll just get right into it. I think I don't spend too much time on this. We've sort of sprinkled them throughout the night. But let's talk about the most recent and I think concerning elements. I told you earlier, they just approved the shots from 5 to 11 years old, right? It's not going to be long before different schools start mandating it, daycare centers, etc. It's not going to be too long behind that. By the end of this month, going into November, I think they have till November 8th, Canadian citizens who are not fully vaccinated can't fly domestically, can't take a bus domestically, can't take a train domestically. The United States just announced about a week ago that starting in November, Mexicans and Canadians trying to enter the country by flight have to be fully vaccinated. By January, all foreign travelers coming in have to be vaccinated. Land, ferry, air travel, whatever. That means there'll be no foreigners coming in the U.S. by 2020 who haven't been vaccinated, besides those who find their way around. Australia, probably the worst place to be right now in terms of COVID-19 84, right? I'm sure you guys some of you have seen the videos or heard what's going on, but for those who haven't, let's just give a few examples. Australia, this far off distant nation that maybe some of us forget about, former prison colony, turning into a prison colony. The Northern Territory recently announced that by November, if you're not fully vaccinated, you will lose your job if you work around any other person to any capacity, whatever it is. If you see another human, the premier of the Northern Territory said, you must get the jab. And he said, you have 30 days. So by November 8th, those who are not jabbed in the Northern Territory will lose their jobs and face $5,000 fines. The government of New South Wales, a couple weeks ago, they announced that those who've been fully vaccinated now have 2 hours of recreational time outside. Not a lie. Literally, the government is telling people you can go outside of your homes for 2 hours a day. They have totally locked down that part of the country. Also in Melbourne, Australia, for the last, I think they're on their 7th or 8th lockdown at this point. They kind of come up, oh, one case, lock them down again, right? They have what the police call the iron ring around the city. It's basically just checkpoints all around Melbourne that stops anybody from leaving. They have a curfew. So we actually have a couple of friends who are very active in Australia building freedom cells. And despite things going on, guys, I mean, we definitely should be praying for our brothers and sisters in Australia, because we don't want them to get to this level ever here. And hopefully it doesn't progress. I mean, yes, that's what we're here for tonight, right? To make sure things don't get to that point. And we hope that they can stem the tide. I mean, they're protesting, they're pushing back how they can. People like Dave are trying to be prepared. And as John was saying, as we're here to talk about, trying to help people get off the systems. So Dave's in Melbourne, Australia, and he recently celebrated his 26th birthday. Just your average 26-year-old birthday. Sneak out past the curfew, sneak out past the iron ring checkpoint around your city to go camping with some friends for a few days, and then come back and sneak past the checkpoint again, to get home. Just your average 26-year-old having a birthday party. That's a reality already happening. People in France already being denied entry into supermarkets without being vaccinated. Ramiro mentioned the cell phone aspect. I've found some African countries denying people entry to mosque, church, and bank accounts. There definitely is talks of a no-fly list for the unvaccinated. It's been floated not just by random opinion, makers, but by former Obama officials, people who work closely with the Biden administration. And we could go on and on a list. The point is, it might seem pretty normal for some people in Texas or Arizona, or again, we were just in Florida and people are chilling. Again, our governor's fighting for us, or things are, there's nothing to worry about. And it does kind of seem pretty normal in some places, but that doesn't mean these agendas aren't rolling forward. It doesn't mean that their plan hasn't stopped in any way. You can ignore it, busy working and act like it's not happening, but it's going to happen. And it's going to be in your face sooner or later. You might be able to ignore it right now, but sooner or later you won't. So a couple other points I'll make. We've seen a rise in authoritarianism, the police locking down police. We already met people on the tour, guys, who've had their kids taken by CPS for not getting the COVID vaccination. People that we've met in different countries and different cities around the country. Let me tell you a story. We were in Lexington, Kentucky, right? Kentucky, again, one of these conservative places that's like, we're not going to do the vaccine passports or vaccine mandates. You wouldn't expect something like this to happen, but it's happening everywhere, guys. A woman tells us she's had the same doctor for 25 years for all 4 of her kids. Her youngest now, she thinks he has strep throat, so she went to the doctor to try to go get him to do a swab to give him a test. The doctor refused to, treat her or her son because they wouldn't wear a mask. That was the first thing. And then, okay, you're unvaccinated. They had to argue and debate for about an hour. Finally, the doctor agrees to see her and her son to do the swab, but only in the alley behind the office. After he erects a big tent and puts on a hazmat suit and lectures her for another 30 minutes, would he then swab the child to do the test, right? Lexington, Kentucky. Even in the places you might not think these kinds of things are happening, they're already happening in the US. We were just in Brooklyn. You can't go in gyms, bars, and restaurants without showing proof of vaccination. San Francisco, same thing. LA County, New Orleans. We shouldn't rest on our laurels because we're in Texas. Let's talk about the vaccine passports. This is where it's at right now. This is the sort of the battle of the moment. I think this is probably the battle that matters, right? Because the vaccine passport, which of course is going to be a digital ID, there's many of them now, the Common Pass funded by the Rockefeller Foundation, the Clear Pass, there's a number of them out there. They've been working on the World Economic Forum. The people behind the Great Reset have been promoting it for the last year. As John said, they envision a world, this technocracy. They claiming it's going to be super convenient, it's going to be friendly to the environment, but you'll own nothing and you'll be happy, right? Because we're going to give up all of our free will just for the good of each other, or something sort of utopian lies. The point is, the vaccine passport is the first step to a biometric ID, which will be needed to get in and out of anywhere, guys. In and out of everywhere and anywhere. If you have a 401k, they're going to squeeze you. If you have a welfare check, they're going to squeeze you. If you have a veterans check, they're going to squeeze you. If you're dependent on these things. Right now, they are finding every vulnerability they can, and they are squeezing until people comply. The time of offering you donuts and free money is over. They've said it themselves. The voluntary phase is over. There's talk in parts of Australia and other places about lockdowns for the unvaccinated. If you're vaccinated, you can go outside, but not if you didn't get the shot, right? What does that look like? Who knows? The point is, these things are happening. They're taking place. And before we get into the vaccine passports, I do want to note that another aspect of COVID-1984 of the last year has been a censorship of people talking about these things. Some of you know that I had my YouTube channel deleted last October, actually a year ago right now, which is kind of cool because even though they did that, 5 million plus views, 9 years worth of work. Thankfully, I saved all my videos elsewhere. Despite that, and feeling like for a while, like, holy crap, that's it. Like, how am I going to reach anybody? We just did a tour of 29 cities around the country with crowds of 70, 80, 100 people who are still getting the message and who are finding it. Whether it's on BitChute or, wherever it is, they're still looking. They're still finding it. There's so many more of us out there than they want us to believe. And I've been letting people know like this. People say, oh, it's so good to meet you. You're not just a person on the other side of the screen. Sometimes, it feels like you're not even real. For us as content creators and as journalists, the operation goes the other way. They want us to feel like nobody's listening. Maybe I should give up. There's nobody paying attention. You can't even trust the numbers anywhere, I don't think, but maybe I should give up. It feels like I'm just shouting into a black hole. Nobody's listening. I might as well just stop doing it. That's what they want us to think. So it was great for me to connect to all these people who are like, I keep up with your work. I follow, or I met you this place, or I've been following you since this time. I started doing Freedom Cells because of what you said here, right? Just to see the real world impact. It's just been a huge, it's been the energy I need to keep going for another while. So the vaccine passport, this is rolling out everywhere around the world in different forms. And they're going to use this as a way to get towards a full-on biometric ID. People becoming familiar with the terms like social credit score. You heard this term, social credit score? For those who haven't, you know about a financial credit score, right? You take out a loan, you don't pay things back, you're going to get a bad credit rating. You can't buy a car, you can't take out other loans. It's going to affect you negatively. And that system itself is already screwed up. It's already, yeah, exactly. It's already got its own issues that we could talk about all night. But a social credit score, right? So this isn't just about your money. This is about your social interactions, the way you interact with society. So for example, and this system already exists in China and in parts of Estonia, the digital nation, one of the first world's digital nations, and some other places that are testing it out. Think about this, okay? If you take your trash out on time, your social credit score goes up. If you pay your taxes on time, your social credit score goes up. This is real. If you read Mao's little red book every afternoon at peak hours, your score goes up because you're showing you're a good, obedient, servant of the state. If you, let's say you're one of those extremists we keep hearing about that like to post mean things about the government on the internet, your score goes down. And this is already happening. Chinese activists are being affected for protesting and speaking out. Their scores go down. So scores go up if you do good things. Score goes down if you do positive, do negative things, as defined by the government, of course, right? But this is where it gets real, guys. You might say, okay, well, this is just some number, right? Who cares if I have a bad social credit score? I don't even know what that means. It's just a funny internet number. But already, millions of Chinese citizens have been denied the right to fly out of their own country because their score being too low. People have been denied loans. People have been denied promotions. And that system is already integrated, and it's helped by facial recognition cameras. They couldn't do this system without hundreds of thousands of facial recognition cameras around their nation. And that is a threat that the US is facing. There have been plenty of people much brighter and more kind of informed in this area. Lawyers, digital privacy groups have been warning for years that we are walking right into a digital dystopia because of AI and facial recognition. And it's sort of just this legal gray area. Like for me, as an anarchist, I'm not really one to call for regulation, but I do see that there are certain technologies that maybe we should stop and kind of think about, because when you turn on certain switches, there's no going back, right? When you turn on, you have this full-on AI system connected to facial recognition cameras that can find you within 5 minutes, which is what they have already in China, then we're in a bad place. That's the end of privacy, right? And we're walking towards that. There's companies that are already doing that. It's not just the government. You might have heard of Clearview AI. They're one of the first companies people are learning about in the past year. They have the world's largest face print database. This is known as your face print, and there's even some people who believe the trend of selfies playing on our narcissism was a way to gather a lot of face prints. And now companies like them, they create algorithms and programs to just scoop data from all the information we've voluntarily freely given, and they put it into a database and they sell it to governments and police and anybody who can afford it. That's Clearview AI. They're just one company. So you have the threat of privacy from private organizations as well as governments, and then the World Economic Forum and others, right? That's the world that they're talking about, technocracy. As John mentioned earlier, you'll own nothing and be happy, right? You guys have heard that phrase? What it really means is that they believe a technocracy is not ruled by the people, even if I'm sure many of us have questions about the idea of democracy itself, but it's not even that. It's not even a dictatorship, one person making decisions. It's the idea that the people who should make the decisions in our world are the technological elite, the scientific experts. Trust the experts, trust the science, right? Sound familiar? And this philosophy has been around for almost 200 years. In fact, people like Elon Musk's grandfather was one of the founders of the Social Credit Party in Canada. A lot of people don't know that. Interesting connection, right? And some of these same people, the Musks, the Bezos, the Zuckerbergs, these are the Gates, the Klaus Schwabs, these are the unelected power, the technocrats. None of us ever voted for them for anything, for dog catcher or for anything. And yet they're using their money and their influence to geoengineer the skies, to buy up all the farmland, to change the food. And they're telling us it's all for the good, right? So we're focusing again on what they're talking about, their vision. The reason I'm emphasizing that is because the rest of this is about what is our vision. They've spent trillions of dollars and generational familial planning to bring this vision to fruition, right? You've heard of the term Agenda 2030? Well, Agenda 2030 is the goal to bring all the 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals by the year 2030. And again, they all use the buzzwords diversity, inclusivity, equity, sustainability, all of it, but it's ultimately about centralized control. It's about technocrats making the decisions. It's not saying, hey, let's have more local community farming and permaculture. It's like, no, let's make top-down decisions and we'll reset the food supply. You might have heard the United Nations Food Systems Summit met 2 weeks ago. It was the United Nations, the World Economic Forum, and a bunch of corporations talking about how to reset the food supply. These are the same people who brought us the Green Revolution of the 1970s. For those who are unfamiliar with that, it's famous for such hits as Indian farmer suicides, Monsanto, glyphosate, GMOs. Those same people are now saying, hey, we're going to reset the food supply because COVID has proven our systems are unsustainable. They're back in the saddle and they're promising us it's going to be better, right? That's their vision. They called this decade, 2 weeks ago at the United Nations Summit, they called this the decade of transformation. It's 2030 is their goal. It's 2021, and we're going into 2022, guys. They have their vision. They are putting all of their energy, all their propaganda, and their whole machine into bringing this to reality. We heard about it all last year. You remember that phrase, the new normal, the new normal, the new normal? They've been trying to program it in your heads for a while now. So that's what we're facing. We're facing their decade of transformation. They've invested all their money. And again, while most of us are just so stuck on how many likes we have this moment or how many kind of dopamine releases can I get right here? What can I distract myself right here in this moment? These people are thinking about what projects can I start that my great-grandchildren are going to finish, right? That's the kind of planning we need to get back to, is thinking about our families, thinking long-term. So that's what I'm here to invite you to do tonight. That's what we're facing, guys. Nothing less than that. Then the full-on loss of individual privacy and individual liberty if you choose to live in the smart city. For those who followed my work, Houston was announced as a smart city October 2018. That's when I started doing the 5G Trojan horse, and I questioned the current mayor and his connections to the wireless industry. Just so you guys know, just to really bring this to fruition, I've been working on some reporting. I haven't released this yet, but Houston, this area is one of the major planned places, and Austin as well. They want to turn Austin into the Silicon Valley of Central Texas. They want to, all the big tech companies are investing in Austin and Houston. The mayor, Sylvester Turner, has been doing a great job implementing Agenda 2030 plans. He sits on what's called the Resilient Council, which is funded by the Rockefeller Foundation. I imagine when he leaves office in a couple of years, he's going to retire, just continue working in that private sector. My point is, this current mayor has helped roll out so much of this. So while you might not be seeing it or paying attention to it on the local level, or it might feel, oh, the United Nations, World Economic Forum, that sounds so far away. It's happening in the backyard. When they talk about resiliency, sustainability, yeah, maybe they're starting by saying they want to build more bike lanes, but ultimately it's about getting more control of the local thoroughfares, getting more control of where you can go, what you can do. Do you have enough carbon credits to travel today? That's where it's all going. Spend enough time talking about the problems. If any of that's new to you guys, I invite you to go to my website, theconsciousresistance.com, check out my documentaries, search the words The Great Reset, Agenda 2030, look up my name in those terms, and dive down the rabbit hole. I want to warn you about 3 traps that I'm seeing as we're traveling, and these are within our community and within maybe people who are not in the community, so to speak. 3 traps, guys, just to be looking out for. The first one is defeatism. Everything I just described was pretty overwhelming. We could talk all night about the minutia of it, the details of how big it really is. I understand that it's overwhelming, and it can be easy to fall into a place of feeling hopeless or defeated. Anybody felt that way in the last year and a half? Maybe those of you who just started questioning things, or even if you've been around for a while, it's like, holy crap, we've never seen this level of propaganda, right? This is new. This is, wow. A lot of us, maybe some of you lost friends, family, the last year and a half for your health choices. Yeah, I think that's happening more and more, right? We're dealing with some difficult circumstances. I understand why somebody might come away feeling hopeless or like there's no solutions, but there are solutions. Ramiro's talking about some, John's talking about some. I'm going to share some with you. They take steps, they take effort, take energy, but they are possible. I think of the waking up process, if we're going to use those terms of us waking up, it's like a grieving process, right? Anybody get angry when they first started waking up, questioning the world around them, feel like maybe righteous anger, like, holy shit, I can't believe these people lied to me. What the hell? Like, what are we going to do about it? Anybody feel sad? Like, I can't believe people lied to me. This is so sad. I don't understand, right? You have those emotions. I definitely went through it. My family, if they might remember, I definitely went to everybody that would listen, was like, hey, have you ever heard of this? Do you know about this? Have you seen this thing? I woke up my older brother, and then he started calling me all paranoid. Do you know about this? Have you heard about this? I'm like, I remember this clearly because I was literally living down the block, and I'm like outside on the phone talking to my brother, pacing outside. I'm like, oh my God, yeah, dude, you know now too? We're both like, and he's about to have his first child. And he's just like, oh man, I think I just screwed up. Like, I don't know if I'm bringing a kid into this world. And I just remember how real that was. And I remember telling him, I'm sorry, man. I feel like I shouldn't have told you about this. And he said, no, because then I'd just be walking around like another zombie. Like, thank you for telling me, and it's just been, slowly I've been planting seeds with my family. They can attest to that. Whenever they're willing to listen, I share things because it matters to me. And I want the people who I care about to know about the things that I care about, especially in these really scary times. But when you start to, you can go through anger, you can go through sadness. It is a grieving process. There's this psychological model for grieving called the Kubler-Ross model. You probably know about it in theory, if not in name. Now, it describes a 7-stage process that people pass through on the way to accepting a grievance, right? That could be a death, it could be the loss of a job, whatever it is. Typically, the first stage is denial, right? So let's imagine you're starting to wake up, right? Those seeds have been planted. You got a friend telling you to watch some documentaries. You watch it, you read the book, whatever, and your mind's like, holy crap. Oh my God. No, there's no way. There's no way. This can't be true. You're in that denial stage, right? But you keep digging, and before you know it, you can no longer deny it. So much of what you've been told growing up by people you were taught to trust is not true. And then that totally shifts your paradigm, and you start going through the emotions, the sadness, maybe the anger. Ideally, you spend time in these places, and then you get to a place of acceptance. Okay, this is reality. I got to deal with it. And then you get to a proactive stage. Now, what can I do about it? I need to find other people, start getting some stuff done. But for some of us, we get stuck in those first couple stages, the sadness and the anger, right? And things can start to feel hopeless. I tend to call this stage the Alex Jones phase. Whatever you think about Alex Jones, his work is definitely tinged with doom porn and like fear porn. Like they're not saying that there aren't facts in there, but even when it's facts, it definitely doesn't leave you coming away feeling like, oh, we got this. No, it's like, oh my God, we're screwed. That's what happened to me. I watched, seriously, it was at this freaking Barnes & Noble. I'm looking, this is when DVDs were still around 10 years ago, right? And I'm looking around and it's like, Endgame, Blueprint for Global Enslavement. That's interesting. Took it home to my apartment right down the road, and just 2 hours later, it's like, oh my God, nothing matters. Nothing matters anymore. And it's like, oh my God, it's happening today. I went through that freak out stage, right? And that happens for some people. And when you get in that stage, you become what I call the defeatist, or you can fall into the defeatist trap, right? Of just feeling hopeless. So for this person, anything you can suggest is not good enough for them, right? Any solution you may have, political, activist-wise, whatever it is, this person thinks it's hopeless. And I don't know what their solution is if they just stay on Facebook and complain all day. But let's imagine you tell the defeatist, hey man, we're really concerned about food supply chain shortages and all this stuff. I'm gonna start growing my own food. Oh, that's cute. You think they're gonna let you grow your own food? You think they're gonna let you grow your own food? Yeah, we got a community. We're gonna get some land. We're gonna start growing food. You ever heard of Waco? You think they're just gonna let you live free? It's like, oh, well, we're thinking about getting alternative currencies. We're going to start investing maybe in precious metals or crypto. Oh, they own that. They controlled that. They infiltrated that. That's a shill. He's a shill. She's a shill. Any solution you got is not good enough for this person. You guys met this person? Seen them on the internet once or twice? Maybe you've been this person. Don't be this person. Guys, there are solutions. There are solutions. Yes, what we are facing is overwhelming. But, and yes, let's acknowledge, there is nobody else coming to save us. There's a lot of myths I've been kind of keying in on as we're doing this tour. One of these myths, it seems like they all come from Hollywood. One of these myths is that somebody else is coming to save us. I know the Matrix is coming out again, and that's cool, but there's no one coming to save us. There's no the Avengers or X-Men. It's us. We are the X-Men. Yeah, or the aliens are coming to save us, or QAnon, or whatever you want to place in that place, right? The point is we have to step up. That's where I'm coming from, at least. To me, it seems like, hey, we get to be the ones, right? And look around the room, guys. Like I said earlier with this tour, there is true diversity in this room. Women, men, different ages, different races. We got anybody in their 70s in the room? 60s. Don't be shy. 60s down to, Logan's probably the youngest. 2. So 60 down to 2, right? Like I said, we've had folks as old as 94 down to 5 months old on this tour. Different backgrounds. The beautiful thing that I see is, I don't come to do these events and I don't assume much, but I definitely don't assume that we all agree on everything, right? Because I think that would be a bad assumption to make. Because just because we came here tonight doesn't mean we all have the same lifestyles, we like the same music, same diet, hang out at the same places. But more than those superficial things, we're getting united now around principles that actually matter. You guys care about self-ownership, bodily autonomy, individual liberty? We're on the same team then. Thank you for caring about those things. Even if I disagree with you in other areas, I'll still fight with you, okay? That's what we need to come to a place of, where we put those things aside. There are solutions. Don't fall into the defeatism. The second trap I want to warn you about is division. People coming to recognize that the division is the conspiracy. The division is the conspiracy. They would love to see us continue to further divide and separate into our own little silos. And, well, no, I can't work with those people, and I can't work with those people. Anyone had their assumptions turned up in the last year? People who you thought maybe would have never fallen for the COVID stuff? going that way. And people who you thought, I'd never work with that kind of person, now you're marching on the streets with them or you're working alongside with them. It's beautiful to see, you know, because as I was saying earlier, despite the propaganda, you can't categorize everybody in this room or any of the rooms we've been over the last 2 months as a right-wing extremist, whatever they want to say, right? We're way more diverse than that. They would like us to believe that it's just this one type of person that's asking questions. Oh, ignore those cops and ignore those firefighters and the EMS and the teachers and the nurses and these health professionals. Ignore the scientists. Yeah, ignore the fact that there's a diverse crowd of people. No, they want us to be in this little bubble, right? Right now, the current expression of the division is vaccinated versus unvaccinated, right? Again, anybody lost friends or family or at least strained relationships because of their health decisions? You're definitely not alone in that equation. It's unfortunate that that's what things are coming to. Anybody here at the moment at risk of losing their job in the coming weeks or months? I know friends who've already lost their jobs. Yep, there's a handful of us here. And I would love to connect with you guys, by the way. Those of you who just raised your hands, please make sure to come up and say something to me. I'm working with some other groups like Make Americans Free Again and some others. We're trying to get a real directory going because there's a huge opportunity right now, right? People are looking to pull their kids out of school. It's scary, especially if you got a couple of kids, you've never done it before. You need community. But what about all those teachers that are being fired? We need to bring them into these homeschooling communities. We need to find the teachers that have good experience, right? What about the nurses? We might not agree with some of their decisions, maybe to give out vaccines or whatever, but they have experience, they have knowledge that can be useful to communities, right? And ultimately, we have to come together now because society around us is saying, you're not welcome. If you don't want to get this jab, you can't fly here, you can't work here, you can't come here, right? So we can either beg, please, please let us back in, or let's wait till 2022 or 2024, or let's just hope the courts figure it out for us. We can trust the courts, right? They've never done us wrong. Anybody else feel like we're in a time-sensitive situation right now? Again, 2030, 2021. I've been trying to do a cost-benefit analysis with my activism. What is the best use case of my time, right? What is the best way that I can reach people? Miriam and I decided we're going to spend 2 months away from our comfortable, beautiful, nice, not hot Houston weather in Mexico to travel the country, be away from our comfort zone, deal with the stress, the money, the energy, and all of it because it's important right now. It felt important enough to be out connecting with people. I don't know that there's anything else more important right now other than showing people that they're not alone right now, that there's so many more of us than they would like us to believe, and that we need to act now if we want to continue to thrive. Because I could just keep listing off more stories of different cities. Toronto Hospital Network says they're no longer going to give out organ transplants to the unvaccinated. Canadian Town says they won't do marriage licenses for the unvaccinated. Not that you should go to the state for a marriage license, but still, these are different ways. How long before they tie vaccination status to renewing your driver's license, your registration, your work, your passport, right? We've been traveling very much with the awareness that sooner or later, they're going to close the border. By the way, they've been lying to you for the last year and a half. The border's never been closed at the Mexico border, but they've been saying it's been closed since March 20th. I'm sure a couple of days ago they announced, oh, it's closed for 30 more days. They don't ask you anything about COVID. It's literally like it's not even happening. We've gone back and forth several times. It's not a risk. There's nothing. But just by saying that, some people just stay home, right? That's the other thing to recognize. So much of their propaganda is just wordplay, right? Maybe they say you got to put a mask on or you got to do this and that, but then you find out some businesses aren't complying. They're just kind of quietly going about their business. Maybe they're not making a big deal about it, but it's all just fear, right? It's all just in our head. So much of it is. Now, there are very real guns backing us up as well. There are very real people who are indoctrinated, who are just doing their jobs. That's a reality to contend with as well. My point here is that right now, more than ever, we need compassion and empathy. There are a lot of people who are very traumatized right now. Miriam might have shared this earlier. When we were in Portland for the first March Against Vaccine Passports, we met this woman who was, I'd never actually seen the trauma in person, like the stuff that maybe in our circles we sort of laugh at, right? Because it's easy to be like, oh, those stupid sheeple, those COVIDiots, we're so enlightened. Look at us versus them, right? It's easy in these circles to fall into that mentality. We got it all figured out. We're awake. And they're clearly stupid sheep, right? We don't have anything in common with them. You got to understand, for one, guys, the infrastructure that these psychopaths have built didn't exist 2 or 3 years ago. There weren't corporate fact checkers a couple of years ago. There weren't fake news boxes. So every time a new mind tries to start questioning things, boom, here's a fake news box to tell them, don't worry about that. That's fake news. These people are crazy. Don't even question it. Okay, I guess I shouldn't go further. Unless somebody has that true desire to push past, it is much more difficult to just randomly wake up. Some of us were around when you could just stumble into these videos on YouTube and elsewhere. That doesn't happen anymore, guys. So Yeah, they've taken it over. They've cleansed the internet. We've been seeing this sort of sanitizing of the internet for the last couple of years. So recognize that one. Have empathy, because it's a lot harder for people to wake up today than it was before. There's a lot more information. There's also a lot more crap. So it's hard to kind of filter through that. Have compassion for these people. Maybe they're just waiting for you to come hand them a flyer. Maybe instead of making fun of them behind the back, go try to talk to them about why you feel so strongly about these issues, right? Maybe try practicing compassion. This woman that we saw that came up at the tail end of the tour of the march, she was double masked outside by herself on a beautiful sunny day. And she, are you guys with this march? Yeah, we're here documenting it. I've been racking my brain all night. I just don't understand. Why don't they care about people? Like, I don't think that's why they're here. They actually do care about people. That's, would you, and Miriam tried to hand her a flyer. Would you like to see a flyer of why we're here? Just put it on the ground. Like, and this is, again, the woman telling us she's double vaccinated, double masked, outside, and she's just, but I'm telling you, when I saw this, I was like, oh my God, this is it. This is the trauma. This is the kind of person that hasn't left her home in a year and a half. This is the kind of person that is just deeply ingrained into that, right? And when we tried to talk to her, you could see the programming. Every way that we would pitch her an idea, she would block it with this, oh, you guys are from Texas. Of course, that makes sense. Oh, you're just young and you're ignorant. Miriam tried to tell her, ma'am, it's all this stress is not good for your immune system. Oh, so you don't believe in your own immune system? It was just so hard to get anywhere with her. But ultimately, we were able to compassionately we're not going to agree. Let's go our own way. But the programming was real, guys. And to the point where she said something like, well, the government gives us our rights. And I was just like, whoa, hold on, ma'am. And I had to just tell her, I was like, ma'am, you are a free person just standing there and no government or constitution is needed. You're a free person just right there. I'm a free person here, and it was difficult. My point is that that trauma is real, guys. That trauma is real. There are people who haven't been going anywhere. They've been terrified out of their minds. And only imagine what the kids are going through of the kids of those people. They're putting masks on the kids. And as we said today, now those shots are approved for ages 5 to 11. They said they have 25 million doses ready to start distributing. We have to think about where it's going and what we're going to do. Defeatism, division. The division is easy to fall into, but practice compassion as you can. The third trap I want to warn about is normalcy bias. Guys, normalcy bias, this is what I'm saying. I think people are starting to fall back into this complacency and feeling like, okay, well, because my governor did this executive order, I don't have to do anything anymore. Or, well, because we're not locked down at the moment, things are good, it's okay, right? Oh, that's just New York, that could never happen here. That's just, San Francisco, that'll never happen here, right? Last year, because I don't know how you guys feel, but for me and Miriam, the shit has already hit the fan. Like, some people are like, well, if the shit hits the fan, then I'll start talking to you guys about what are you talking about? The shit hit the fan last year. It's flinging around the room right now and smacking you in the face, and you're just not paying attention to it. You're just like, what's that smell? I don't know. It's okay. For us, the line has already been crossed. Like, that was it. They've already shown they're willing to go they're going to go further too, but they've already shown they'll lock you down if they say so. They'll take your job away if they say so. And you don't like it, then they'll put you in jail for it. They'll censor you for it, right? This is just the beginning. Right now, it's a social faux pas. You might lose your job, or people look at you ugly. Oh, you don't vaccinate, right? We're not at the point yet where, well, we're getting there, right? They want to literally starve people out, can't come to the grocery store. It's about compliance, guys. And last year, people saw that, and there was so much momentum. Freedom Cell Network went from 3,000 to 27,000 in the last year. It's beautiful, and it's still growing. We're still seeing growth. The website's one thing, but on Telegram, we have no idea how many cells there are now. They're in Belgium, they're in Australia, they're in Spain, they're in, South Africa. Like, we keep finding about new ones that people are just creating on their own. And that's not to say every cell is as organized as, some of the others, but people are at different stages of getting involved, and they're looking for other people. They're connecting. That's what's most important. A lot of us before might have felt alone, and we felt all disparate. Now people are coming together, right? So last year, this movement's happening. And then as the lockdowns faded, it seems like things have kind of gone back to normal. Remember, this isn't normal. This is the new normal, as they call it, right? Can we all accept that it should never be normal to see masks on kids? Can we accept that? Like, that is not a thing we should be accepting right now. So it's cool that we can go hang out at a bar and nobody's going to bother us. And we're not at the point where they're asking us to go to the gym, to show this. But there's still people going along with the programming, right? This isn't normal. We shouldn't just, okay, now everything's chill. Oh, there's a kid with a mask. I'll just ignore that. Like, that's normal. It's not normal to be hearing about no-fly lists for the unvaccinated. It's not normal to be talking about not letting people into the grocery store without being, getting the shot. These things are not normal. Don't fall into normalcy bias. Normalcy bias is a cognitive bias which leads individuals to dismiss incoming or oncoming threats. Typically, it's talked about in terms of incoming weather disasters, right? So Houston, we get hurricanes. This is the person that is getting told, hey, you're in Galveston, you're in direct line of the hurricane. No, everything's going to be okay. I'll be fine. It keeps getting closer. They keep dismissing the threat. They think, oh, no, it's going to turn. Surely I'll be fine. And of course, at the last minute, please come save me. This is something in our brain. It's kind of beautiful, but it's also really scary, where we seek equilibrium, we seek balance, right? Even in the face of scary conditions and scary situations, your brain will try to find that balance, try to keep you calm, try to keep you from going to a state of panic. But maybe right now, we don't need panic, but we do need a little bit of awareness of what's happening. We don't need calm and ignorance at the moment. Let me give you another example of what I would consider normalcy bias. Imagine any totalitarian regime that you've seen throughout history, the ones that history has shown us in the last couple hundred years. That could be Nazi, fascist, communist, just totalitarian regime. Very limited freedom of press, very limited freedom of speech. Maybe you know on the edge of town, there's a work camp or a labor camp where people are taken if they do the wrong things, right? And you don't speak about it too much above a whisper, but you go about life. Now think about those regimes, that situation. Do you think those people never smiled? You think they never celebrated birthday parties? Do you think they never said, I love you to their loved ones? Of course they did. Because even in the worst circumstances, our beautiful brains will find a way to go about life. Even if you know there's some really scary things happening, don't talk about it too much. Don't whisper about what they're doing. Otherwise, you'll be taken next in the middle of the night. But you still go to work and you go about your day and you try to practice and act like you still got your kids. And maybe in the back of your mind, like, okay, we're going to figure something out. We'll figure this out sooner or later. Right now, I just got to be peaceful and calm. And that can happen. You can get comfortable and used to very scary, disturbing things that should not be normal. I'm here to say, like, we need to be careful of that. Their plans are not going away. Even if it feels calm at the moment, even if things feel chill here in Texas or wherever else, it's not going away. There are still people making this effort, and it's going to continue. And I don't think you should be trusting the words of Greg Abbott when he's trying to run for re-election and maybe thinks he could have a chance at president. And executive orders can be overturned. You know, these things aren't permanent. So just be careful into falling into that trap, but also be careful about falling into this trap of normalcy bias. None of this is normal. So
Sorry, wait. I've tried to talk like twice. So when you say Greg Abbott has tried to run for president, so when you say we exit and we go to the country, some of us purely own the land we live in. I own 2 acres and I have to pay about $50,000 in property taxes every year, but 100% no bank. So what advice do you have for that? Do you have a lawyer for that?
I'll talk about that as we get to that part. I just got to continue, man. We have short time. We have short time, man. Okay, we'll talk about that. Maybe for now, but the point, as John said earlier, is to get to the point where we're strong enough where we don't have to. But I'll get to that, man. Thank you. So the rest of the conversation, you know, all the things we described, the technocracy, where it's headed, and these 3 traps I'm mentioning. The reason I'm mentioning that is because I do see people falling into division, falling into thinking things are normal and everything's okay right now, falling into defeatism. And if we fall into those traps, we will be swallowed up by the technocracy. If we don't create our own vision, because again, they've got this clear vision: smart city, technocracy, great reset, you'll own nothing and be happy. They've written books about it. They're holding conferences about it. You know, they got a new one coming out, The Great Narrative. Now they're talking about how they can shape the narrative. This is the next part of the Great Reset. But what do we have? What are you aiming for? If you don't know that, then it's hard to imagine how you're going to get there. So we need to watch out for these traps, and we need to consciously think about where we're headed. The rest of the talk is coming from my book, How to Opt Out of the Technocratic State. You can download it for free at theconsciousresistance.com/how-to. We also have it Spanish and French if you want it. We just ran out of the English copies, but please download it if you haven't checked it out. I wrote this book in late 2019 and published it in January 31st, 2020. 2 weeks later, we heard the word COVID-19. The book is 100% relevant to what we're dealing with right now, not because I had a crystal ball. The book doesn't mention COVID at all. But again, those who were paying attention could see the direction we were headed. There have been people warning about AI, warning about facial recognition, warning about the loss of individual liberty and privacy and this world we're marching into. So I started asking myself, how does somebody like me, who strives to be free of these systems, or somebody who's deeply ingratiated in these systems, you got a 401k or a bank account, or maybe you have some debt, different things that you feel tie you to these various systems that now can be used against you. How does somebody like that find a way to navigate through that, right? How do you maintain freedom and privacy in the face of technocracy? That was the whole kind of goal of the conversation and the book. And that's what we're going to focus on now for these last 15, 20 minutes here. You guys still with me? Thank you, guys. I appreciate your patience. How to opt out of the technocratic state. These solutions that I'm presenting tonight, they are not easy. They are not easy. Let me say that deeply. They are not easy. There's no 1, 2, 3-step program I'm trying to sell you tonight. I don't think any of us are. Anybody who does try to tell you, sign up for my email list and, in 3 days we'll defeat the deep state, is full of it, right? Real change is generational. It starts with the eldest here and it continues with the youngest. That's how real change takes hold. When we carry on ideals from one generation to the next. It's generational. It takes effort. So the solutions I'm presenting tonight are not political. They are not legal jargon, and they are not lawsuits. And that's not to say you shouldn't fight in those arenas. I'm not here to tell you again what to do. I'm here to suggest some ideas, some alternatives. If you feel like fighting with lawsuits and fighting the political realm or fighting, legal jargon, common law, paperwork, whatever, if that serves you, fight in those ways. But again, for me, we're in a time-sensitive situation. I don't know that it serves me best to just, okay, I'm going to donate some money to this lawsuit and I'll just hope that they can take care of it. Meanwhile, I'm going to sit around doing nothing. Or I'm going to wait for somebody to run for president in 2024 and hope that, they can turn things around. Now, if you're going to do those things, now, if you're going to play the political realm and you're going to play the lawsuit realm or whatever, do that and plant food and try to get out of the big tech systems and try to get off the bank. You can do both, right? If you feel the need to do that, that's fine. Put your time and energy into that, but don't assume that that's going to turn out for the best, right? Don't put all your hope and faith into that. So again, the solutions we're talking about are not easy and they're generational. It's going to involve lifestyle changes. It might involve career changes. It might involve moving. It could involve, as I said earlier, working with people you never thought. Because the reality is there are people who are like, I've been working at this job for 30 years. And now if I want to keep working there, I have to either get this thing up my nose every day or I have to get this shot in my arm. And I'm not willing to do that. Okay, well then what are you willing to do to stay free? What are you willing to do to make sure your kids are still free? Are you only going to focus on, well, I have to change something now? That's uncomfortable. That's difficult. It's frustrating. It's hard. I have to learn a new skill. Or are you going to look past that momentary discomfort and say, I need to think for the future, right? That's what I'm encouraging people to do. Is just stop thinking about how things are difficult now. I might lose my job, or I might have to take the kids out of school, or maybe we have to move. Yeah, but do you want to be free? Do you want your kids to have a future? Do you want them to have the option? I don't know that sitting still is going to get us there. I don't know that acting like this isn't happening is going to get us there. It's going to take real concrete effort, movement, action to get these things. So those are the kind of solutions that I'm here to present. They're not easy in any way. But if you hear me say something and that comes up and you're like, okay, Derek, I hear you. But that's not easy. I have, I'm working 70 hours a week and I have 4 kids and I have these different things. I hear you. I empathize. But let's brainstorm on how do you start making moves, right? Because I guarantee you in any situation you're in, no matter how entangled into the system you feel, there are steps you can start taking. It can be as simple as stop using Gmail, stop using Google. That's a big step, right? Now you're making the changes. For example, Ramiro was talking about the above phone. This is it. Miriam and I have been using this as we travel. We're not using Google Maps as we travel. We're using 3 different open source map alternatives. We're not sending Google any of our data. It's a learning curve. Sometimes we've gotten lost. Like, what the hell does that damn thing say? Because we're so used to Google's stuff, right? We can't even look at another map because we've been staring at Google's for so long, right? That's a problem. If I'm like, wow, it looks so different because I'm so used to looking at the company map. Of it is convenience, exactly. A lot of it is simple, and that's what I'm saying. If your privacy isn't worth inconveniencing yourself a little bit, well, that sounds nice, but it's so much easier. I already got all my places pre-programmed into Google Maps, and all my stuff's in Gmail. It's going to take a lot of effort. I guess you don't really care about having privacy. Then that's just it. I mean, you do what you do, but if you can't even make a simple step, learn a new tool. Go meet some people, put some food in the garden, whatever it is that serves you, then I don't know. Maybe you don't really want to be free into the future. It's not going to come easy. Now, I want to make a point here that hopefully some of you have been realizing that the world around us is increasingly making it difficult just to be a free person, right? The world around you, most of you probably haven't changed to any major degree in the last year and a half. The world around you has changed. Now the world is saying, you're not welcome here. You can't come in here without that shot. You have to pay this fine. I just found out today, the people who've been getting fined in Australia, they announced that now they're seizing people's bank accounts if they don't pay back the fines. They're seizing people's homes. So maybe you thought, who cares? They can fine me all they want. I'm just going to ignore it. Now they're coming for your bank account and for your home, right? Their goal is mass compliance. They're not going to stop. And if you are dependent on their systems, they're going to squeeze you. They're going to find every vulnerability and every weakness they can, and they will squeeze it, my friends. The best move is to not be dependent on those systems. Don't wait for them to come tell you, sorry, you can't come back to work anymore, sir. You don't have the jab. Oh, I don't have a plan. I didn't think ahead. I knew I should have, but I guess I'll just do it because I don't know how I'm going to eat tomorrow without it. Don't be caught in that situation. Unfortunately, some people in this room who maybe feel like they don't want the shot will go ahead and do it when the time comes, because they're not going to hear this message. They're not going to take it to heart, and they're not going to come up with a plan. And the job is going to tell them, or the kids are going to be told at school, you can't come back without the shot. And because they didn't think ahead, they're going to comply. Or maybe a family member is going to say, you're not welcome here. Or friends, right? Some people's friend circles. And it's a lonely time. There are people who would rather take a shot, gamble with the shot than be alone, right? Well, my friends aren't going to hang out with me if I don't get this. I don't really want it, but I'm sick of being alone. It's been a sad, lonely year. I guess I'll go ahead and do it, right? That's why we need community, and we need to be proactive. The world around us is making it clear it's illegal to be free. Now, let me describe a situation. Maybe last year there were people who are just average Americans, good Americans, pay their taxes on time, never been in trouble a day in their life, never been arrested. And then this year, they're in the back alley buying negative PCR tests or fake vaccine cards, right? And this is a reality. And I'm not even saying like, some sketchy 20-something teenager. I'm saying like grandmas, people, just average people who are choosing this. Now, of course, this is just a temporary solution because, as we all know, it's going digital. It's going to become a digital passport. And it's not my path. I'm not going to use them personally, but I'm not going to fault somebody if they say, Derek, I haven't seen my family in a year, and the only way I can do that is if I get this shot or this test. And I'm not doing either. Can you help me with this? Or do you know somebody who can find this? I don't see a victim. Of course, the state says it's illegal to do that, and they'll put you in jail if they catch you. But some people are also like, I hear you guys. I need to exit. I need to build, but I need to pay off my debt first. I'm making a plan first. And so in the meantime, I need to work still. And to do that, I have to fly. So it's either get the shot or do the test, and I don't want either. So I'm going to buy a fake vaccine card, right? People are doing what they need to do already to stay free. And my point here is that as the world increasingly gets more authoritarian, you're going to have to break the law to stay free. What does that look like? That's up for you to decide. But the point is, I want you all to recognize that, look, we should not have guilt for that. They have programmed a lot of things in our head to make us feel like if we break the law, we're doing something wrong. But hopefully everybody here has come to the awareness that just because something's a law doesn't mean it's right. Right? Does everybody understand that? Right?
Yeah, it's simply people to be fine, but it won't take that in the next coming years.
Even if they say it's legal, doesn't make it right. This is the government that gave us slavery. This is the government that currently, for those of you who are a little old school and remember this, the NDA 2012 signed in December 2011 under the Obama administration, re-signed every year by Trump, and continued under the Biden administration. Section 1021 and 1022 of the NDA 2012 says that they can indefinitely detain American citizens who have been suspected of terrorism, extremism. They can indefinitely detain you, hold you without trial, without jury, with access to a lawyer, and they don't have to tell your families anything about where they took you. That's already legal. That's on the books. That's a thing that exists in the United States of America, just waiting for the right person to use it. Nobody's used it yet as far as we know. Maybe they're using it in small ways we haven't seen yet. The point is, that's what they think is legal. If you follow the government for your moral code, you're going to end up in a bad place. And there are people much brighter than myself who have come before me who've said that good people disobey unjust laws. So hopefully everybody here recognizes that. To maintain freedom, you're going to either have to find workarounds or you're going to have to outright violate their laws in some way. What does that look like? I don't know. But I do know that we need to be proactive about that. In fact, that's why we're focusing on building new systems, right? Because eventually, and this might sound far off, but where we live in Mexico, guys, people are already doing this. Maybe you're like, that's Mexico. It could never happen. Well, it needs to happen here. People who just celebrated 10 years of kicking out the cartels, the cops, the politicians, and governing themselves, just celebrated the 10-year anniversary of their uprising in April of this year, a town called Cheran. And their motto during their uprising was ni un paso atrás, not one step back. That's so powerful to me. Just like that's what they were chanting with themselves as they pushed back and they decided they'd had enough. And this has happened in pockets of different places in Mexico where people have just reclaimed their own towns and kicked out the criminals, whether those criminals are cops, government, or whatever. And eventually the state says, you know what, we're going to leave them alone. It's not worth our time to try to go do that. Could that happen here? I hope and pray it will soon enough. And I hope it can happen without violence, because that's what's going to have to happen. Now let me continue that thought, guys. Look, because you might at some point have to break the law, we need to push past our programming. We need to get comfortable with things like saying no. Anybody here ever have trouble saying no? Maybe you're not a person who likes confrontation. A lot of us. It's time to let that go. Let's get comfortable saying no. Say it with me. No! 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 No, I will not let you come take this child because they're unvaccinated.
No.
No, I will not let you come take this person because they didn't pay your fees on time. That's what it's going to come down to, guys. That's what it's going to come down to. And it doesn't have to be violent. Freedom cells can come together and peacefully assert themselves. Maybe somebody's legally open carrying. You're not coming in here. I'm sorry. You're not welcome in this neighborhood. You need to leave. Until we're ready to get to that point, they will take the kids. They will come take you. They will do that. It's already happening in other places. Again, not here to fearmonger, but also not here to bullshit you like everything's going to go easy. We have to be willing to say no. We have to get comfortable saying no. I want to talk to you about 3 paths. John kind of illustrated the exit and build one already. I'll just elaborate a little bit. These have to do specifically with physical location. As I said last year, a lot of excited people, a lot of momentum. People were like, we're going to move to Mexico. We're going to move to this city. We want to get out of California. And now we're relaxed and think it's over. It's still time to get momentum going. This first path, though, I think is what some of you here have chosen. It's what I call holding down the fort. And this also kind of goes with what John says as far as build and then exit. So holding down the fort is if you're looking around your community and you feel like, you know what, we've got good activism here. We're growing, community gardens. People are unschooling, homeschooling the kids. We got good spiritual community. Like I've got my tribe here. I'm not leaving. I'm committed here. I'm holding down the fort, whether that's in the city or in the suburbs, wherever it's at. If you're looking around your situation and you feel by choice or circumstance, because I have had people come up to me and say, Derek, well, I really don't want to be here, but I've got this relationship with this person. I can't leave because of my kid, or I have this job. So I'm here. So whether by choice or circumstance, if you're committed to your current area, it's time to get to work. It's time to start connecting with people. It's time to start growing your own food, or at least, if you got some extra time, put some time in the community garden on the weekend. Put some effort to it. I want to emphasize how this is not going to happen without work. Knowing things are bad is not enough anymore, guys. If it ever was, knowing things are bad is not enough. As I said earlier, you can know things are bad. You can watch all the YouTube channels and listen to all the podcasts and still walk right into their world because you didn't do anything about it. You just talked about it all day. You just were afraid. You were paralyzed. You were too afraid to act because it was uncomfortable, because it was difficult. It's not going to be easy. Holding down the fort. If you're choosing to hold down the fort, get connected with people, whether it's through freedomcells.org or some other mechanism. Again, don't leave tonight without connecting to people. Maybe at the end of this, hey, who's from Katy? Who's from Sugarland? Make sure you make those connections. Don't let tonight be a waste. There's energy, there's potential right here. And we just spent 2 months creating that energy and that potential with people around this country. People are ready for solutions. People are ready for this. Who feels like hold down the fort's the path they're on? Like you feel pretty committed to your local area, wherever that may be at the moment. Got a few hands. Maybe some of us don't really know at the moment, right? Things are kind of, they're sort of all over the place. At the moment, holding down the fort. So if you're holding down the fort, get connected with people, start plugging in. Again, if you're going to fight with activism, whether it's political or lawsuits or running for office, still learn how to grow your own food. Don't be one of these people that assumes when the shit hits the fan that you're all of a sudden going to know what to do with your Patriot supply of seeds and food. You might actually have to open that thing up one day and actually, oh my God, how do you plant this? Like, right? Don't just assume, well, I got 10,000 seeds in the basement, so we're all good to go. Like I have no idea how to do it. I don't even have any tools, but we'll figure it out. Start now. Put the energy in, right? And I want to emphasize just again, takes effort. Maybe you're hearing this and you're like, Derek, I hear you, man, but I'm working 70 hours a week. My brother works 6 days a week, home to see his family maybe 24 hours a day or less, right? He knows about these things, but where's the time to do anything about it, right? That's where he's coming from. And I empathize with that. I get that. But look, if you have a goal and you have that vision, I'm holding down the fort. I need to protect my family. I know they're going to mandate these shots soon at the schools. I need to start researching homeschool. I know they're going to do something about my job. How can I be an entrepreneur? Is there a better job? What resources are available? You need to start thinking about it proactively. Don't just let it happen to you, right? So in that situation, you're tired as hell. You don't feel like there's extra time, but you do want to get your kids out of school, right? Spend 30 minutes at night before you crash out after your hard working day. Come home, shower off real quick, spend 30 minutes, just 30 simple minutes doing some research on that homeschooling or that permaculture or whatever it is, or taking back your tech. By the end of that week, you just did several hours of research that you wouldn't have done otherwise. You moved the ball forward. That's the kind of practical steps it's going to take. Does that mean you're going to be a little more tired in the morning because you stayed up 30 minutes later? Maybe, but you're moving your family forward. You're moving the ball forward so that in the future, when you find a time to rest, your kids will be free and happy. And you'll know that you put everything you could into these moments. Because again, I believe this is why we're here. I know that this is why I'm here. This is the only thing that makes sense to me. This is, I know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing because of all the amazing, things we're seeing come out of this. I know this is our time, guys. Second strategy, exit and build. Again, this is in terms of physical location. John kind of mentioned this. If you're looking at your current community and there's nothing going on, you don't got any local activism, there's no community gardening, there's no protesting, there's no homeschooling, you can't find another person. And we get these emails. People say, man, I'm checking the Freedom Cell Network and the Telegram groups, and there's literally nobody here. I'm the only one in my. Sometimes that might be case. Sometimes you just feel that way. Anybody have that situation? You thought you were alone, then you meet new people, and you're like, oh my God, there's all these others, right? Sometimes you just haven't plugged in yet. But sometimes you might be in a situation where there are no other like-minded people with similar goals to you. In those situations, the best bet is to vote with your feet. And again, not always easy. But you might be looking, okay, well, there's nothing going on in my town, but in this town over, they've got all kinds of good stuff happening. People are doing co-educating with the kids, and they're learning more about food, and they're doing stuff that I want to do. I'm going to move over there, take myself, my family, and get plugged in. The other thing is, again, we're in a time-limited situation. Anybody here tried to start activist groups or work in that realm? If you have, it's not easy. It takes a lot of energy. Keep yourself motivated, motivate other people. It's a lot of time, a lot of energy, right? Maybe you feel like you don't have 1 to 2 years to build an activist group up from the ground up right now. Maybe you feel like I'm better served by contributing my skills to this other community. And that's what we're seeing. People are getting the hell out of California. Well, when I asked in California, anybody here holding down the fort? There's 150 people and not a single person raised their hand because everybody's getting the hell out of there. And, so people are deciding, do I want to get out of California? They're all coming to Texas. You need to make sure they don't start turning this into California. You got people coming to Texas, going to Iowa, going to, Arizona, people getting out of New York. People are making moves, right? So that's part of that exit and build strategy. People see greener pastures or better opportunities elsewhere. Doesn't mean you're running away. It just means you're thinking, like, what's the best for you and your family, right? Is it where you're currently at? It might not be. Maybe there's somewhere else. And again, I think those of us who are in proximity to the city of Houston really need to think about that into the future, because as this smart grid continues to pop up in the coming years, I mean, you already basically give up your privacy just by being in the downtown area. For those who are unaware, there are 10,000 plus cameras that have been installed over the last 10 years by HPD, the Department of Homeland Security. They're all connected to a 24-hour real-time data crime center that is constantly scanning us. I mean, you can see them anytime you go around downtown, and it's increasingly expanded. It used to be just 100 in downtown, then it was 1,000. Now at this point, I think there are over 10,000 in the downtown area. So just by coming here, in some ways, we voluntarily give up our privacy, right? That's only going to get more difficult as times go on in the cities. So exit and build is about trying to get out of one place and move to a better place if there's that option. I'll tell you a little bit more in a moment how it deeper. Third, that I believe nobody here has chosen. I want to believe, and I'm praying that everybody here in this room has not chosen this path, and they wouldn't come here tonight and hear all these things and still choose to do nothing. But the third path is what I call apathy is death. Because choosing to do nothing in the face of everything that we were just describing, in the face of, I'm sure you guys could inform me about other things that you know that I don't even know yet, that I haven't even plugged into. In the face of all that, to do nothing, and I don't really know what to describe this stuff other than evil, like psychopaths. Like, I mean, that's where I'm coming from. That's what my research has shown me. These people definitely aren't healthy. Healthy people don't go try to terrorize the world, right? They go take their money and they live off happily and leave people alone. That's not what we're dealing here. If you choose to do nothing, guys, I believe that would be a death. Does that mean they're going to come storm down your house tomorrow and take you away to the FEMA camp? Probably not. Not yet. But I believe doing nothing would be a moral death, a spiritual death, a psychological death. To choose to see this coming, and as I said, to choose to see that these young ones, including my nieces and nephews, some of your kids, are 100% depending on us to create something better. To choose to do nothing in the face of that would be a failure, would be a death. Again, thankfully, none of you have chosen that path. Now let's talk a little bit more about exit and build as we wrap up here. Exit and build in terms of how you live your life. This is what John was talking about, what I call the holistic self-assessment, looking at these different areas of your life and trying to see where you can improve. If anything I say offends you in the next couple minutes, take it as a sign that maybe there's an opportunity there. Don't be mad at me. I'm not trying to trigger you, and I'm not here to make that happen, but I do want to encourage you to think. If you feel a little funny by something I say, maybe that means there's some work to be done in that area. I know that I've got more work to do, always ways that I can become more free. Let's talk about in terms of exiting and building from the food system. The food system is unsustainable. We live in Mexico. Most of your food's coming from there. At some point, they might say, you know what? Why are we sending all our food over the border? California's drying up. There's some farms in Texas, some farms on the East Coast here and there. but a lot of it's coming elsewhere. It's an unsustainable system. A lot of people are talking about the supply chain shortages. It's a weak supply chain. You know, one truck can't get here. The next thing you know, the groceries out of this thing. And it comes slowly. Has anybody been feeling or seeing the inflation? Guys, we just traveled this whole country and it is everywhere. Everything is up. Like gas prices, hotels, food, everything. And every city we've gone, everybody's like, yeah, I'm seeing it in my industry. I'm seeing it here. And just 2 days ago, Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey said, hyperinflation is coming to the US. Get ready. Does he know something we don't know? Or maybe he's just paying attention to where things are going. He's also invested in Bitcoin, yes. Squarespace. So it could happen. It could continue. I mean, it's already happening, right? But it could get even worse. And the thing about that whole inflation aspect is that, you know, you're still buying the same amount of food you want from your grocery store, but you're getting less, right? So recognizing the problem, what's the solution? We need backyard gardens, front yard gardens, rooftop gardens, vertical gardens, windowsill gardens, community supported agriculture, food shares, co-ops. We need guerrilla gardening. I mean, that's the reality. And again, maybe we're already working. You don't have time to be a full-time gardener. I don't think in this next stage of humanity, we're all going to be gardeners per se. You're going to contribute different skills, but your family would be better served. Take the family and say, hey kids, we're going to go do a couple of hours of this community garden. We're going to learn a little bit about, you know, working in nature, working with plants. Start gaining those skills. Don't wait for the collapse to start figuring out how to use your seeds. Be proactive. You recognize the system's unsustainable. You recognize that it doesn't align with your values and it's not working. Exit from it and build something better and or support people who are doing it already. For example, the technology. The technology, they're stealing our data. They're using it to monitor us. And the best case scenario, they use it to try to sell you something. And the worst case scenario, they're developing profiles on all of us that are going to be stored forever. I mean, you got to think about that. This digital information is going to be stored. It's already probably stored in the NSA's database in Utah forever. And now at the moment, some of the things you're doing might not be illegal. They might not even be frowned upon, but that data could be used against you in the future. Maybe that, you know, you've seen this already happening. People losing jobs from things they said 10 years ago. And maybe it's a joke that at the time was okay. And now it's not okay. Well, now you're canceled, right? These systems can and will be used against us. There's plenty of reason to be concerned about big tech. I am not a technologist. I am not a software engineer, but I can promote the people who are doing that work like Ramiro because he's doing such important work there, helping people get off the phone systems, helping them get off Microsoft. Anybody remember Expose Bill Gates Day last year? A couple times we did that. Maybe you've seen James Corbett's documentaries. We were building a movement last year of people questioning Bill Gates. We're out on the streets. We're talking to people. We're passing out flyers. We're spreading the viral meme, and we're doing it on our Microsoft computers, making Bill Gates richer, right? There's a disconnect. We need to connect thoughts, words, and actions more than ever. We need to live in line with our values. That's what this holistic self-assessment and trying to look at these different areas, your food, your economy. How do you make your money? Where do you make it? Where do you spend it? Your relationships, your technology, all these different areas. And again, not to judge anybody, not to say you're living wrong. Why don't you do this? But for you as an individual to say, you know what? I can live more in line with my values. I don't want to just talk about getting out of these systems. I want to actively do it. And you know what? I'm going to have to contact Ramiro because I have no idea what the hell he just said. And
Right. So
maybe that's your path.
You comment that you guys live in Mexico. So
Can I please finish my
that's
talk?
like
We have a very
you guys
limited
are
time.
running. That's
Thank you.
you're
Thank you.
running.
So you go to Ramiro for technology if you don't have that awareness, if you don't know about how to do those solutions. I certainly don't. I definitely don't know how to change everybody's computers to Linux. I definitely don't know how to create these phones and outfit them with decentralized apps, right? So I lean on people like Ramiro who do have that knowledge and do have that information. The point is looking into each of these different areas of your life, and you could continue to expand. I have here education. A lot of people are homeschooling. A lot of people are unschooling. They're recognizing that that system does not serve them. And I want to make this note. Look, guys, if you just started questioning the education system in the last year, it was crap before the masks. Okay? It's a propaganda center. Go to the pyramidofpower.net, watch my first episode on big education, learn the history of the education system. They're meant to be indoctrination centers created by the Rockefellers General Education Board to create obedient worker bees. And they said in their own words, we're not trying to create doctors, intellectuals, health professionals. We're trying to create people who can punch a clock, right? That's all they care about. The schools were crap before this, okay? So if you have the opportunity, free them from it. This is something I'm trying to work with my sister and my brother with their kids. Again, they have 3 kids each. I know it's not easy. I'm not sitting here, come on, just pull them out. I know, they're like, I have no idea how to do that. I talked to my sister about this. She needs your help. She needs to plug in with those of you who have the homeschool. Anna, I need you to connect with her and help her. They told her today if she doesn't get her next exemption in time that they're going to take them out of school. So this is what I'm trying to tell her is let's not wait for that. Let's plug you in with Becky and with Anna. Let's help get this transition. This is the kind of real world thing that we need to have happen. I'm trying to help my family. We're trying to help other people to be proactive, right? Because it's going to happen. They're mandating it now for the kids, or they're approving it for the kids. The mandates aren't far behind. So these are the kind of things I'm talking about, right? Look at these different areas. Okay, I'm not in alignment here. Or this is a risk. If I keep the kids in there, they're going to, force it. If I keep working this job, I know they're going to force it. My brother-in-law, same thing. My brother, they're working jobs. They're worried that sooner or later they could be mandated at work. How is he going to feed the 3 kids? How is he going to feed the family? I don't have all the solutions. I don't have every single answer, but I know the solution is for us to having for us to start working with each other locally. I believe that the support system we are building through the Freedom Cell Network and other groups, because now people are traveling using the Freedom Cell Network. We've met a woman who caravaned with us back from Mexico to the States. She traveled all the way home to Maryland using the Freedom Cell Network, meeting with other like-minded people that vouched, that contacted me. Do you know her? She's a good person. She stayed with them, got to get plugged into the local community. People are, as I said, meeting people and buying land together on the Freedom Cell Network. Use it in that way. If you're thinking, I don't know if Houston's it for me, what state are you considering? What city are you considering? Check the Freedom Cells on the website or the Telegram. Plug in with those groups. Hey, I'm thinking about moving to town. Can you tell me about the community there? Can you guys tell me what's happening? Use the resources that are here. It's only going to continue to grow because there are going to be more and more people asking these questions, guys, as time goes on. This is just the beginning. It's 2021, 2030. Things will get worse, unfortunately. But the paradoxical thing that's happening, the worse they get, the more of us start asking questions. And I believe in what Miriam and I are trying to do is get ourselves established so that when our families or some of you need help, we can help other people. But if we don't help ourselves, if our foundation's not strong, we're going to be in scarcity mode. And we're going to say, sorry, I can't help you today. Close the door on you, right? I want to be in a position to help as many people as possible. So this whole tour and this talk tonight is just a waving the red flag. My friends, many of you I know personally, some of you are my family. I care about you. Please think about the direction things are going and think realistically about what it's going to take. The last point I want to make is, again, that in our indigenous communities, we're taught to recognize that the world that we're fighting, the world that we're living in, we're impacting not only those in front of us, but the coming 7 generations and beyond, right? Think about that. Me, my child, my grandchild, great-grandchild, and on, right? They're all depending on me. They're not even here yet. I don't even know if they will be. But the other future children, your children, your great-grandchildren, they're depending on us. But also it goes the other way. My parents, my grandparents and great-grandparents and on, people that I never met. I believe I would be failing them if I choose not to act. It is up to us to decide what the 7 generations are going to be born into, what that world's going to look like. And also it's up to us, I think, to uphold the legacy of all of our ancestors. No matter where you came from or where you were born on this planet, all of our ancestors had to struggle and get through some trauma to get us here, right? And I'm not going to let that pass for nothing as far as I'm concerned, right? And it's important to recognize, thank you. It's important to recognize, guys, that all of our ancestors had to think ahead to the future to get us here. But now we're in a place where we're so comfortable. The grocery store's there. I guess it'll always be there when I need it. The light switch, it'll just turn on every time I want it to, right? We're so comfortable. Of course, Texas found out last year, can't necessarily depend on the power, right? That's a sign. That means there's an area you need to focus on. I've got some weaknesses when it comes to power. I'm totally dependent on their system. How long would it take for electricity to be tied to a vaccination status, right? These are signs that we need to get out of their systems, right? So if you see the opportunity that is before us, I believe this is why we're here. I believe all of us from the different ages and backgrounds and interests and races and everything else are supposed to come together in one way or another to make it through this. And I do believe only those of us who are most proactive in thinking ahead are going to make it through this. Our ancestors had to think ahead in the past, right? I think about this. My grandmother, we just got to visit her recently. She's 85 years old. She has a farm in Kentucky. She's still harvesting her crops and putting them in cans and putting them in her cellar. She's been doing that since she was a little girl. If she doesn't bale the hay for the cows, then they die during winter, right? All of our ancestors had to think ahead. But now we're at a place where being prepared is a bad thing. You must be some far-right extremist if you have some extra food in your pantry. right? Think about that. They're demonizing the idea that we should be thinking ahead and preparing, but that's what we need more than ever. We need to be proactive. We need to remember our ancestors, and we need to think of the coming generations, my friends, because that is what is dependent on us. I want to invite you in this moment, if you can hear my words, to make a commitment. Make a commitment to yourself, not to me, not to anybody in this room, but to your higher power, to your family, whoever you need to be. Make a commitment in this moment to not let this vision come to pass. They got that vision, right? What does our vision look like? You need to know that vision. I talk about in my book, the freedom formula. It's a 3-step process. What is your vision of freedom? What are you willing to do to get it? That will be your actual experience of freedom. What does your vision look like? Do you even know? Maybe you have abstract ideas. I want to go off grid. I want to live with my family on a ranch. But have you done any of the research necessary yet? Have you even figured out what permaculture is? Do you even know how to plant a seed? It's going to take some steps between here and there. It's not just going to magically happen. You have to bring it into being. Praying, meditation, manifest is one part of it, but there's action that needs to come into place as well. So you need to know your vision. As deeply as they have their vision of the Great Reset, we need to have our vision. The vision that Miriam and I have, what we're building in Mexico, it's called the Conscious Agora. There's 15 to 20 acres. There's 15 to 16 people, 2 freedom cells. We've got fresh spring water, fruit trees producing bananas, avocados, limes, pears, apples. There's the free-range kids running around, non-GMO, heirloom, organic gardens. We're not trying to create a utopia. We know we can't, but we are emotionally intelligent, emotionally mature people who know that we can handle things that come our way and make it through it and come to agreements and disagreements and be an example for other people. We want to have an education center that can be used as a place that many of you can come to learn. We want this to be a network of free communities all around the world. And not just in my vision, but whatever you bring to vision. And I've spent the last 4 or 5 years deeply thinking about this. Miriam and I got certified in permaculture last year because I need to learn more. I've done some urban farming, but I need more skills. I don't want to just wait till I get the land. I need to get as much skills now so when I get to the land, I can start building right away, right? It takes action. I had the vision. I put everything into it. And now when we go back to Mexico, we're getting very close to getting this piece of land and starting this project and bringing it into existence, right? What is your vision? What are you willing to do to get it? That will be your actual experience of freedom. If you're not willing to be uncomfortable, if you're not willing to push past your fears and your doubts, if you're not willing to learn a new skill or work with new people, it might be pretty difficult. You got to push past those things and make a commitment right now in this moment to not let their vision come to pass. Get to know your vision. Spend some time writing down, what does freedom really mean to you? What does that look like? Are you on the land? Are you in the city? Are you living with other families? Do you have your own property? Are y'all sharing property? What does it look like? Know it deeply, put everything you got into it, and you can manifest it. Nothing short of committing to that, guys, is going to stop what's happening. The final point I'll make, and I should have said this earlier, is I don't know that we can stop the Great Reset. I'm not here necessarily tonight to tell you that we're going to stop it. I think we can slow it and push back in different ways. But again, they spent trillions of dollars and generational familial planning into this. And in some ways, it needs to happen for us to wake the heck up, right? It's like we're almost willing it to being so we can wake up. And also, here's another Hollywood myth. There's no easy way out of this. There's no ring of power to throw into the lake of fire and it's over. There's no single computer, smash it, the Great Reset's over. That's all BS. It's structural. Our problems are much bigger. They're going to take more effort, more time. There's no single way. I don't know that we can stop it, but I believe we can survive and thrive through it, guys. And it's only going to come if we commit to making a better world. Thank you guys so much for your time. I want to end with my positive affirmation. If you'll join me, I appreciate your patience. I know it's past 10. I'm going to still jam some music if you want to hang out with me. And we're still live over there. I appreciate John and his crew for being with us. Please give them a round of applause. They've been filming and streaming tonight. Hey, guys, if you resonate with this affirmation, please repeat it after me. This is something that I started using when I was in prison. It came to me way back then. It stayed with me just through tough times. If these resonate with you, please feel free to repeat after me. I am powerful. I am beautiful. I am free. Thank you, guys. I'm gonna see if I can set up for some music, and then we can hang out. Yeah. Yeah, there's email signups up front if you want to get plugged in, and people will contact you about future events. I'm gonna see if I can get this to work. I think I got it. Let me see. Here, why don't you?
All right, give it up for Derek Bros one more time. It is the time, guys. It's really important that we all redouble our efforts. We stay strong. We stay connected. Use this as an opportunity to network. Make sure you sign in there in the email. For anybody that's watching on the live stream, join us at freedomcells.org. Freedom Cells, like cell in the body, freedomcells.org. And stick around for at D Bros Live Free, aka 33.
My brother's got some stickers over here. Guys, please get plugged in. I'm going to perform some music. Listen, dance if you want. Guys, I go by the name 33. This song is called Reflection. If you enjoy it, please come up here with me. Get close. Get up in my face. Check.
We have to reestablish our
Check
identity.
1, 2. Check.
We have to understand who we are and where we fit in
My
the
little
natural
nephew.
order of the world.
Check 1, 2. Oh, wait, hold on.
The people who have
Now I'm
created this
33.
system and they perpetuate this system.
Come up here, guys, if you want.
They have made us out of balance.
I woke up this morning feeling I had something to say. I got doubts on my mind. It's time to let them fly away. It's time to unlearn poison and heal broken hearts. Go back to the end. It's time for a fresh start. This is the place we can atone for our sins. This is the place where our hero's journey begins. A space between love and hate, where there's no escape from our fate. Rather than be irate, let's create, let's build the better world we know is possible. I've got no fear, cause we can overcome any obstacle. I stare all my demons in the face, I'll show you what's possible. I send love from my heart, I'm intuitive, not illogical. It's just that lately I've been searching for deeper meaning. I'm sick of drugs, booze, mindless sex, and criminal scheming. Feels like I should have more at this point in time. I'm talking knowledge, not money. I'm trying to feed my mind.
See, we are powerful.
Thank you guys.
They deal in violence.
This song is called Reflection.
Tell us they want us to believe that we are powerless.
I hope you hear these words from my mind, from my heart to your ears. I got one more for you. Come up here if you can. Open up all three of my eyes and fly to the heavens. During my meditation, I see my life in chapters of 7. I connect to my inner child to heal my wounds. I recall those I've lost to dope gone too soon. My life flashes before me, a collage of joy and pain. I recall the highs, the lows. I swear I'm going insane. I'm trying to wrap my mind around this journey. Spent too much time worried about things that don't concern me. No more time wasted, not chasing my dreams. I wake up every day knowing this world ain't what it seems. We gotta make our own path. We gotta find our own meaning, cause we can't be sure. We might be dreaming. All I know is when I look in your eyes, I see myself. I'm just a reflection of your impression of my higher self. Could it be that our whole reason for being, our existence, is a lesson to teach us over and over until we get this? You are powerful, you are beautiful, and you are free. Shake off your chains. You were blind, but now you see. Grandfather, help us remember where we come from. Grandmother, walk with us until the battle is won. Thank you guys so much. I invite you to hear the words of John Trudell. He's a Native American activist who died a couple years ago. Please hear his words. I got a couple more for you.
We are a natural part of the earth. We are an extension of that natural energy which is spirit and which is power. That is natural power. And just as it takes millions and billions of elements to make a blizzard to happen, or to make the earthquake, to make the earth to move, then it's going to take millions and billions of us. We are power. We have that power.
Hey, thank you guys. That song is called Reflection. I perform music under the name 33. We have the mixtape there on the table if you want to get it out. I just did half. These songs are basically, this is about my journey going to prison, dealing with that dark stuff, and coming out on the other side. And I use this hip-hop storytelling medium as a way to kind of get that message out. I started doing this 3 years ago when I was 33 years old. That's the year that my birth father finally succumbed to his drug addiction. He died of a drug overdose. And writing these songs was a way to kind of help me through that. Also, you have 33 vertebrae. Some people believe Christ ascended at the age of 33. Some people believe Buddha became enlightened at the age of 33. If you ask some people, 33 is an angel number, a master number. If you ask some people, it's a Freemason number. To me, it's about transformation. These songs are about transformation. This song is called Say Mother, and I would love it if you come up a little closer for this one. Thank you guys for being here. Check. Yes, bring up the screaming child. What's up, buddy? Check. This song is called Same Mother. And, you know, I just been thinking about it, that no matter which way you cut it, we all really come from the same place. I'm the new hip-hop king waiting to be crowned. Another election passes and you're still voting on clowns. You think you made a difference, but you're a fake resistance. Keep voting for evil and you might get 6-6. How many times must we play this game? They're washing our brains. They're watching us kill ourselves, run to siege. And I don't mean to offend, but if you hate free speech, you can get fucked. You can get fucked with the rest of the mob. And all those the deepest state, the ones you don't see, who are rocking for your plate. The pranksters, gangsters, murderers, and mobsters were being ruled by psychopathic monsters. The pedos in the Vatican are doing it again. The CIA, the NSA, and the Zionist clan. They got the plan to keep you trapped in fear. Can't you see, my friends, the Great Reset is here? And I'm not talking about some rich man's plan. I'm saying we can manifest the promised land. If we stop hating and killing each other, maybe we'll see that we have the same mother. Thank you, guys. I'm just trying to say that in this very beautiful, crazy time we're living in, it seems like we probably need more unity than ever. So I got one more for you. I should slow it down before I scare you away. I don't want to lose you before you hear what I have to say. I ain't got no diamonds, I ain't got no drip. All I got's my body, soul, and tribe I roll with. Only thing I do is speak the truth and then reality. It's a neat trick, manifest and you'll see. Anything you want, you can have health or wealth. It's time to wake up and love yourself. Love yourself, release the demons you befriended. They're gonna hold you down, man, it's an early ending. I promise you, we deserve better than we seem. It's up to us to overcome and create our dreams. I've been to the bottom, met my demons and fought them. Hiding from my trauma, man, drugs, I got them. Bury my pain and dope till I can't stand up. I might be puking, but keep pouring in my cup. But that wasted life is just a waste of life. We need to wake up and see we are made of light. I know in my heart, we're here for a purpose. I can see the truth rising to the surface. Don't you see it? The future's in our hands. It's time to find out where everyone stands. If we stop hating and killing each other, maybe we'll see it happening. Thank you guys so much. Thank you so much. I got a hug from my mom. Y'all got time for two more? Can y'all handle two more? One more? Yeah? Okay, Elena said yes, we're going with it. All right, guys, I got one more for you at the least. This one is called Another Cage. And this is basically about, you know, when I got out of prison, I started looking around the world, and I realized that there's a whole lot of people in cages, and they don't even realize it. There's a whole lot of people living in cages. Cages in your mind, cages in your heart, cages in the physical realm. But only you can set yourself free. Yo, I got a story that I need to tell. It's about rock bottom and living in hell. I'm losing my mind, but I'm finding myself. So many sleepless nights, man, I ain't living well. I'm trying to find my balance, I'm trying to find my center, but I keep on living the life of a sinner. I like pushing limits, so I'm searching for the edge. But if I keep doing dope, man, I'm gonna end up dead. I'm headed down the same path as my father. I'm not having fun, I don't know why I bother. The apple don't rot too far from the tree. Does that mean he's what I'm destined to be? I'm trying to be a better man and carve my own path. I tried drug dealing, but that ain't where it's at. Now I'm locked in a cage, doing time behind bars. I got better things to do, man, I'm aiming for the stars. Yeah, it's just another day in just another cage. All right. Yeah, it's just another day and just another cage. You guys know what I mean? Y'all see them cages out here? All right, let's continue. 3 and after it begins. Fuck, I gotta go back a little bit. Sorry. Go back 30 seconds. 30 seconds. All right, here we go. All right, let's continue the story. I'll tell the story to my mom. You gonna sit? You wanna hear? Now I'm free from the prison and my journey begins. As I start a new life, the old one ends. So this is what it feels like to be alive. This might be the first time that I'm whole inside. But now I see my people, they're living as slaves. They hide from the truth and they don't see cage. And I walked out the prison walls because my battle's been won. But I didn't get out of cage just to go back to one. Sometimes a prison is a place in your mind. If you look deep enough, you just might find the doubts and the fears that are holding you back. Watch out for the darkness, I promise it's a trap. Maybe it's time we face the opposition. Let's take a look at society's division. It's time to recognize our place in opposition, because there's plenty of blame from where I'm sitting. Yeah, it's just another day and just another cage. All right. Yeah, it's just another day and just another cage. I got one more verse. If you can hear my words, this one's for you. I know it's a cliche you probably heard before, but we are the ones we've been waiting for. This is our moment to shine, to fly free. This is where we find out what we're destined to be. Can we open our eyes and free our minds? Are we ready to see and read between the lines? I give thanks every day, because I know it's our time. The moment we heal, because I can see the signs, the symbols, the people we are searching for. This journey's about finding out what's in store. And I don't got all the answers, but I know I'm free. This is the truth. This is what we're meant to be. The only thing holding us back is our shadow. Escape the dark, find the light, and you will grow. The truth is this, we were meant to survive. We ain't meant for cages, we are meant to thrive. Yeah, it's just another day and just another cage. All right. Thank you guys so much. You can find my music at soundcloud.com/33 is here. I'm going to play one more whether you listen or not. This is my last song. Go pick it up over there on the table. SoundCloud.com/33 is here. This is my last song. You can hear this is the last time I'm performing this on the tour. This is the 29th time I performed this. Come up here and celebrate the end of this tour with me. I think about where I'm at now. I don't really feel as crazy as I used to, but I know something. This song was actually no regrets, this ain't the last for me. I got no time for flex, because I'm head and shoulders above. The rest of these clowns try to destroy what I love. Truth is, most days, I can't feel my heartbeat. I'm just going through the motions, searching for the real me. Hello? Are you in there? Can you hear me calling for help? You know when you're in a crowd, but feel like it's just yourself? That's my daily battle, my power and my curse. But I won't stop fighting till I'm rocking in that hearse. Even on my worst days, I can't help but smile. Yeah, the struggle is real, but the journey's worth every mile. Yo, and that's not to say that I don't have no dark moments. Sometimes I think of ending my life, because it don't make sense. And I don't know if I'ma make it through the night. And I'm too tired to put up a fight. I got big dreams, not chasing crumbs. But I just wait until tomorrow comes. And I don't know if I'ma make it through the night. And I'm too tired to put up a fight. I got big dreams, not chasing crumbs. But I just wait until tomorrow comes. I'm way too young to feel this lost, false idol. I've been feeling this way too long, suicidal. I can't help but notice this dope clears my mind. Maybe it's the key to the happiness that I can't seem to find. But nah, if I was seeking clarity, I just need to look inside. Find some quiet space, talk to the creator, confide that I feel like I'm losing my grip on this world. I can't tell if I'm supposed to be here with this girl. I mean, it feels good right now, but what about tomorrow? They passing the blunt my way, no time for sorrow. Anyways, what was I saying? By the way, who are you? I really hope I get to ride this high to somewhere new. Elevate myself to heights previously thought impossible. I keep making mistakes, but I'm trying to be responsible. It feels like things are going so fast, I can't keep up. I need a pause, my anxieties are creeping up. And I don't know if I'ma make it through the night. And I'm too tired to put up a fight. I got big dreams, not chasing crumbs. And I just wait until tomorrow comes. And I don't know if I'ma make it through the night. And I'm too tired to put up a fight. I got big dreams, not chasing crumbs. And I just wait until tomorrow comes. I've never been good at hiding my state of mind. I've got no poker face, I'm just playing blind. It's hard not to think about everything I've lost, knowing that my pride and my joy, they were the cost. It really feels like the better I lost it, guys. Thank you so much. Love y'all so much, man. Thank you for being here for us to end this tour. I love you guys so much. Thank you for being here with us. And I don't know if I'm gonna make it through the night, and I'm too tired to put up a fight. I got big dreams, not chasing crumbs, and I'll just wait until tomorrow comes. Thank you for being here. Please come say hi, sign up, get to know each other. Thank you, brothers.
But is that like oh, okay. I think is one of your stickers on your car for that? Yeah. Okay, I think I remember that. Yeah. And so, okay, yeah.